Fred Dibnah is now halfway through his tour of Britain in search of the things that went into building a traction engine like his. He's still in Yorkshire and he's on his way to the Bolton Rivet Manufacturing Company where they made all the rivets he used when he was rebuilding the engine. The engine is now running a lot better than it was when he first set out, but there's still all sorts of little things that can go wrong, which means lots of stops. This time he's having some problems with the mechanical lubricator again.
They don't like running without any oil in the cylinders, especially if you prime them and it's all washes what bit of oil there is away and gets like a residue that's not slippy. You know, just a little drop of oil is enough. But if you wash it all away, it's bad news.
One of the things Fred loves about his engine is the craftsmanship that went into building it.
The skills of making things in Victorian times were highly valued. Stuff they made, like the beginning of locomotive construction and traction engines, they were much more beautiful and shapes and ornate with the fancy work. They did have an eye for nice things without a shadow of a doubt. I think somehow or other we've sort of lost all that. Now we're not as prepared as we used to be to getting our hands dirty and hard work. The Victorians admired them men in a way.
Whether it was engineering, architecture or the decoration of their buildings, Fred loves the work of the Victorian age. And while he's here in Yorkshire, he passes a place where some of those decorative craft skills are still being kept alive. Being Fred, he can't resist dropping in.
What we stopped here for?
Well, this behind us is Andy Thornton's, and when the wholesale demolition of our lovely Victorian era started, they started collecting all fancy bits, you see. And of course there's not so many left now, so they've gathered around them a team of craftsmen that are capable of doing fancy wood carving and all sorts of interesting stuff.
All right.
These things are a gift from heaven, aren't they? These rotors save a lot of effort, a lot of grafting. Right.
These are carvings to go on. We build these big American-style Brunswick bars.
Yeah.
And that'll be an applique when it's finished.
Yeah.
And this is one of the corbels.
Yeah.
That'll go in the centre. See, huge bar, massive ones. These are it's a copy of the original Brunswick bars, which were the most famous bars ever made in America.
Yeah, wherever we go, you know, you meet people and they say, you know, they can't do that now, and you know, the age of the craftsman's gone, but you and I know it hasn't, haven't we? I mean, you've got all these lovely carvings here and a grand team of lads that no doubt you've had to get together. How do you go about finding people these days?
We take on 3 or 4 apprentices every year and we select carefully. And so most of our people are actually homegrown.
Yeah, they served their apprenticeship.
Yes, they have, yeah.
Like the olden days, yeah.
And we said that Malcolm,
Yeah.
he trained elsewhere.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate
Yeah.
to have found Malcolm, to have him.
Yeah,
because carving is one of the most difficult.
Eckish difficult job, isn't it?
It is,
It
yeah.
never ceases to amaze me. I think we'll go and have a chat with Malcolm and watch him. Hello, Malcolm. I'm all right, man. Yeah. Right then.
I'm under the castle.
Yeah. You can't do it fast, can you?
Well, you can't,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
It's relative, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think with a few lessons I might be all right at doing something like that.
Right, Fred.
Can I have
Would
a
you like
go?
a go? Right.
Ah, yeah.
My best chisel
Hang on.
there.
I'll put me. You do get attached to tools, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll put me
They're like a
proper-
girlfriend, though. So
I'll put me proper glasses on, and then I can see what
you
I'm
can
doing.
see.
Yeah.
Well, it affects us all.
Yeah. It's old age and senility, you know.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I forgot now.
That's it.
Yeah.
And just read grain, and
Yeah.
when you feel that there is
Yeah.
resistance there, come back the other way.
I'm going too deep there, aren't I?
No, you're all right.
Are you
You're all
sure?
right. Yeah. You're all right.
We're going buggering up now, aren't we? You know.
And just do it until you think that it's right, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think the beauty
It's
is.
a joy forever.
Yes, that's it.
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm a little bit low down actually. I think. You could do with a box for it to stand on. I think it'd take me a long time though.
I don't know, you're getting there. It's not... I've seen worse than that.
You see what?
No, I mean, I don't mean
Yeah,
that.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, that's very good.
Yeah, it's not what you might call perfect at the top.
No such thing as perfection, is there?
No, you're bloody right. I know. How do you try and once it goes, doesn't it? I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I enjoyed that. Thank you very
Right,
much.
Freddie. Yeah, it's all right. There's
Yeah,
nothing...
yeah.
no?
Nothing you can't
Untoward.
put right.
No.
Right, Fred, this is the decorative glass department. This is Stuart.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Stuart. Hello. Keep going. I don't want to disturb you. Yeah, that's lovely, that, isn't it? I thought this had all faded away, this sort of thing, yeah.
There aren't many people left
Yeah.
in the country who can do
Yeah.
this. This is brilliant cutting
Yeah.
onto sheet glass.
Yeah.
What I'm doing here is I've already cut it in
Yeah.
on the grinding wheels, and now I'm
Polishing it up. Yeah, yeah.
We're using a
Yeah.
wooden disc
Yeah.
with pumice powder from
Yeah.
finest volcanic ash.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, well, that'll be hard, won't it? Tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's what they used to use instead of sandpaper in the old
Yeah.
days.
How long has it taken you to actually make that piece?
There'll be about 10 hours working told on it.
Yeah, I thought it'd have been longer than that, really. Yeah, you've got to have a very steady hand for this, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, it's a shadow about it, yeah. And where's that going to go when it's done?
In a pub called the Baron and Baroness in
Copenhagen, isn't
Copenhagen.
Oh, right. Why does it all go abroad? Well, there's too many vandals in England who break it, isn't there?
it? Well, a lot goes abroad because people are wanting to recreate a traditional English pub,
Yeah,
and they regard the brilliant cut glass as, you know,
Yeah,
as a
that's the
feature of an
reason,
English
yeah,
pub.
yeah. The pub where I first started drinking had a magnet front door, you know, it was like as wide as it were high. They were really beautiful, and it's gone, you know, somebody busted it, you know, some modernistic vandal. Bye-bye.
Boys' toys on a grand scale. Or a scary monster if you're only 2. But don't worry, it's not going to be here for long. Fred's back en route for the rivet manufacturers he was heading for, but not without another problem on the way. This time, it's the lubrication system.
Oh no, it's right now. We ended up with what's termed an hot box in locomotive terms, and it's all right now. We've put plenty of oil in it and it's cooled down. If it's getting too hot, it starts bubbling. The other thing, we fill the boiler right up to the top we couldn't move the engine, so we had to empty the boiler, you know, by blowing it down onto the road.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
That's good.
A little bit more.
That's it.
Right, contact.
Oh, she's going now. She's going now.
With the steam blown off and the hot box cooled down, they're soon on their way again.
When I rebuilt my boiler on the traction engine, I had a great deal of trouble finding rivets, especially made of the right material. And of course, at one time, every little town and hamlet had its own nut and bolt maker and rivet maker. And on the invention of electric arc welding, put all these men virtually out of business. Once rivets were crucial, they held together everything from things like my boiler to the Forth Bridge.
Here at the Bolton Rivet Manufacturing Company, they were able to make solid rivets the old-fashioned way and just the sizes that Fred needed.
Good. That's the
I
stuff.
brought your rivets back, but they're all stuck in my boiler.
Ah, good.
Why,
As
the
long
ones,
as they're
the
doing
ones
job
you
right.
made for us are all these round here and all them down there,
Yeah.
them round bottom. We've got one or two sizzlers, but they're going better every day.
Right. I believe you're going to have a go and make some.
Oh, that'd be nice, yeah. Go on. Yeah, I don't know if they told me, you know, but we'll
Make a few
well,
rivets.
let's
You'll
have
be
a
all
walk to the business end then.
The Bolton Rivet Manufacturing Company specialises in hot forging large bolts and solid rivets for the shipbuilding, bridge building and boiler making industries. They make about 400,000 a year.
This is the rivet forging machine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you the last forging machine in the country making hot forged rivets.
Oh, yeah. Can I have a go?
You go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go and see Kevin, the man in the middle.
That's right. All right.
See you later.
Rivets are made by three men. The heater, who is responsible for getting the metal hot and workable. The forger, who actually bashes it into shape. And the clipper, who trims it to the right size.
How am I doing then?
Okay,
How many of these do you do in a day?
maybe 2,000, 2,500.
Yeah, look at that. That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I bet you know at tea time.
You know how we do it?
Yeah.
Next up now is the workshops of the Midland Railway near Ripley in Derbyshire, where locomotive repair is done on a large scale, so there's plenty of riveting to see there.
In the late 1800s and early 1900s, there were hundreds of steam engine manufacturers based in Great Britain. And of course, they manufactured everything from traction engines to railway locomotives and stationary engines, which were exported to practically every nation in the world. Today, there are very few commercial steam engine builders and repairers, but now we've reached Derbyshire on our grand tour, and we're going to go to a railway workshop where repairs are done on quite a grand scale.
Look at that.
But on their way to the railway, there's a distraction.
Hey, stop.
I have done.
That looks good.
What is it, Al?
There's an old pit shaft there with winding gear up.
Jimmy's rejoined Fred and Alf after getting back from his holidays, and with two ex-miners on board, they couldn't drive past the remains of an old pit without stopping to investigate.
How old do you reckon this is, Fred?
Oh, it's bloody ancient, that, isn't it? Look at them lovely window frames there. They've been lovely then, haven't they, once? Oh, Staffordshire blue bricks. It's ready for a course of renovation, that, isn't it, really?
Needs pointing. Have you got any
Yeah.
spare time?
You can see in here, Fred.
Is there any runners for cage?
No, can't see any. Yeah.
Have a look at this engine. It's a long time since this saw any work.
Yeah, well, yeah. Somebody's jacked it up and pinched the brasses.
Pinched all brasses out.
And this once were a steam engine, but it's obvious it's been converted to electric.
There's a coupling shaft.
Yeah, for motor.
It's way offline for that. pulley, this.
I don't think it's ever run a wire over the big wheel because it's way out of line, isn't it?
Yeah. They found out later that what they'd come across was what's left of the Western Upcast mine, which was closed during the First World War.
Let's have a look at the left engine house. Might get lucky.
You never know. We
Might
might
be
come
an old
across a
steam
priceless
engine or
gem.
Hey, it's open premise door.
We go and have a look.
The peg up.
Pity we haven't got a torch and we could see, you know, it's dark, innit?
A fur bullseye on that signal.
Oh, they're out to signals then, aren't they? This place.
So there's all this stuff belonged to the railway?
Yeah, it must do. Well, it will do, yeah, because
All this stuff.
over there, to the side of the fence, there's loads of signal pole in the timber for signals. And, hey, look at that there. Look at them lovely window frames. There's the indicator board there, see? Been a long time since a block of wood went up and down the... Yeah.
And now for the railway workshops and a bit of mechanicking and riveting.
Oh, we made it. Here we are, the Midland Railway Centre. Oh, it's a busy place, don't it? They've got lots of tapping.
Plenty of stuff here, yeah. Are we going to see any of this boiler work or something going on while we're here?
We've come for.
Oh, we'll see some.
We'll
of
get
that,
rid of
won't we?
this and tuck this away in the corner somewhere and go and have a wander.
Right, go on then.
You all right then?
I'm ready.
Yeah, all right.
Now, a bit of grooving.
Here in the workshops at the Midland Railway Centre, locomotive repairs and rebuilds are done on a large scale, mostly by volunteers who just do it for the love of it.
One of BR's 9Fs.
Yeah.
Probably never did much work. This is Somerset and Dorset, of course. I always wanted to be able to have a day out and explore where the Somerset and Dorset had been. We've got an 8-horse Ramsden traction boiler here. Brand new throat plating.
Yeah.
Pressed by the Woodbine establishment.
Oh, Mr.
Stewart himself did it. There's been quite a bit of building up done. As you can see, it's all intents and purposes, it's waiting riveting now.
And how long will it be before Fred gets his hands on this?
Yeah.
You can see it's all action.
Breathes unhealthy smoke, that engine.
Morris Minor engine, it's done a few miles.
It's funny, you know, when they've just gone in and they come out, they still bloody hot,
Yeah.
and you can't help but want to touch them, can you?
Oh, I know, yeah.
They're so beautiful.
Yeah. I'm a great one for dropping them when you get them out. And if you were doing it all day, every day, building a big ship, you know, you could get used to it,
A little bit this way. Right, Simon, take it up. Whoa! Right!
Yeah. Perfect. Still red hot.
Bit too far.
That's it. Tom.
Right!
Yeah, get it to him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
After the visit to the workshop, Fred couldn't turn down an invitation to have a ride on the footplate of one of the locomotives that had been restored there.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Hello, Fred.
You all right, Ben?
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Can I come on board?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
While Fred's enjoying himself on the footplate, Alf and Jimmy have got some work to do.
Waiting for water.
I'm going back off your bloody holidays.
Took a great part in the doing up of it.
Yes, yeah.
When you, what were boiler like?
Well, the main barrel
was very good.
Yeah.
The front tube plate was the opposite. It was badly corroded. When we saw the condition once we got the tubes out, it had to be condemned.
It was doing up Winker Bank at Sheffield, bloody wet through, raining. I said we could have been with Jimmy now on a deck chair with a pint in stand. Yeah, I'm glad you're back, giving me a little bit bloody polishing and that. Been bloody toying you every day. Have your ears not been burning?
No. Like the running gear underneath, like, with that in fur on.
Yes, it's all plain bearings, white metal.
Yeah. How many years did it take you?
Well, came out of Barry Scrapyard in December 1980.
Yeah.
And it first ran under its own power this time last year. So that was 23 years.
Did you go on Rockies?
You went to Rockies, Banff, Calgary, Montreal, Toronto.
CNH Eskimos.
Correct. North lots of Indian stuff.
Indians, not like bow and arrows. Not shooting at you.
Built in Swindon, 1959, October, and spent all its working life in South Wales, around Cardiff, and then was withdrawn in August 1965, so it wasn't even 6 years old.
I just run it till it pours all over me.
Yard's coupling up.
Now it's Fred's turn to drive the engine. Something he always dreamt about as a lad.
I've only got 3 notches on mine, you know.
Did you ever find that dire straight you were looking for?
No, we've not found it yet. No.
We
I
don't
think we've
know
been
that, is
close to it a time or two.
Yeah. Nearly there.
And he's got no worries about who's doing the steering.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'll bet you are.
The technical bit, stopping it in the right place.
Yeah. Right, just slow it down a bit more. Step 12 on the gauge.
I'm more used to big handles.
Yeah. Lovely jubbly. I think we'll make something of him, yeah. I've seen him do it before, though, so...
Yeah, did you like that? I enjoyed that, thank you very much. Oh, yeah. You let me drive it, you know. Yeah.
Great, Alf, that's it.
Not far from the Midland Railway, there's another engine building business that Fred is going to see. The owners are old friends of Fred's family, so he's being joined by his sons, Jack and Roger, and they're all going to stay there for a few days.
We need all this steam to get up the mountain to see 2 old mates of mine, Ian and Gary Howard, who own a big pile of the Showman's engine. And last year they had a very big fire, and it melted, burned the shed down and melted all the brass on the engine. But they tell me it's almost finished again now. And now we've got Roger and Jack, my 2 sons, to helping Jimmy on our round the world tour. So we'll set off up the hill, or attempt it. Now then, hi lads, how you doing?
Fred.
Well, I can see you doing all right, without a shadow of a doubt.
Battling on, battling
Do
on.
you want me to come up, or are you coming down?
We'll come and have a word.
Aye. Yeah.
Have you had a good run up?
Hey?
Have you had a good run
Oh,
up?
yeah. I can't believe it, you know, from seeing what we all know about 12 months ago. It's incredible, isn't it? You must have worked bloody day and night for that, eh?
Oh, we've done a minute or two.
Yeah.
Whether another marriage will survive or not, I don't know.
Well, I've tried 3 times. Yeah, you made a brand new tender.
Yeah.
And it didn't do no harm to the boiler.
We're hoping not. No,
Yeah.
we've done all the tests necessary, the visual, the hydraulic, and we've had her in steam, blowing off forward at 200 light, and everything's okay.
I read how you stopped fire brigade squatting it with cylinder, which could have been disastrous, couldn't
That's
it?
why we had such a
that
big
was
burnout.
brilliant thinking, Darrell, in such terrible conditions.
And make the decision.
Yeah.
Watch it burn.
Yeah, stop squatting.
We cleaned the shed off it that had collapsed on it. That was the first time we'd seen it, weren't it?
Yeah.
We just covered it up.
I saw the pictures, dreadful in all glory.
This is the bloody nightmare corner, this is.
Ooh, all that's left of it.
If you see one of these on your travels, do you know what that was?
What? Bell, signalling bell.
Communications bell.
Oh, for RSN, yeah.
Because in them days, you know, every trailer had to have a brakeman. And each brakeman had a bit of string to his arm. And then that went just above driver's head. And,
ding, 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 ding. Put the brakes on.
It took us a long time to get one of them before. Look, there's, look at all these bits, look.
Yeah.
My lovely oil cans, look.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? Then we're getting harder and harder, that's fine, First thing at every steam rally, go around.
Junk stores.
You sometimes get a bargain.
But, you know, that's all you can do, isn't it? Head down and battle on.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to come down and have a look at workshop?
Yeah, it's no
where
use
we have to go and
bloody sulking, is it?
This is all the workshop anyway, Fred.
Yeah.
Got quite a bit going off down here. This is about the interesting to you. It's off a very early Evelyn roller.
I can tell which corners, it's the early style.
1884 will be the oldest one in steam. Tim's just getting some paint on it, seal it up.
The red lead on, you know.
And get footplate riveted in then. That's it.
Yeah.
This is a Marshall.
Yeah. It's got the usual Marshall ailment, hasn't it? Why does Marshalls always crack them? And Evelyn's crack on throat plate. When you think about Fowler's, Leeds, there were more traction engine builders and loco builders in Leeds than any other bloody city in the land, you know, Yeah, now there's no left at all, is there, you know? What do we do now? Shopkeepers. Bolton's famous for toilet rolls and incontinence pants, you know. And they used to make bloody boilers and all. I've got a book at home, the Manchester Road Rolling Company, Norman E. Box. It's got, in case of an accident, on no account must you talk to the police. Ring head office immediately.
Court Bolton.
Yeah.
Right, isn't it? Here's Eddie drilling the firebox for this here Marshall.
Yeah.
It's the Marshall's patent firebox, that one.
I've read about them.
Loads of holes to drill in that and then strip it all down, get the swarf out and then rivet it up.
I mean, there's more of the interest in our hobby really grows and grows, doesn't it? So the future's got to be bright for all of us.
That's why we're training Eddie up, you see. Take over when we're old.
And for a traction engine driver's mate, the work never ends.
It's running a lot better. I mean, it's just tackled this hill coming up to Alton Engineering, and it's come up there no problem and kept making steam.
And while Alf's working, who's that sitting at the back?
I don't know whether Fred's 100% happy with it, but he's a bit of a perfectionist, isn't he? It's never ending, this bloody polishing job, is it? Where's these two bloody helpers we can't get, Jimmy?
For Roger, there are too many other diversions here, but Jack's soon back on the scene when there's some driving to do. And with a workshop like this, there'll be time to do any repairs that are needed now that it's just over halfway through the tour. And that's a fine manoeuvre. His dad'll be proud of him. There's a lot of interesting places to see round here, so Fred's going to be staying at Ian Howard's for the next few days. While he's here, he's going to be visiting a place where they make wooden patterns that are used for the castings on a traction engine. and the belt-driven workshop of a local clockmaker. With over 500 miles covered, Fred Dibnah has now reached Derbyshire on his grand tour of Britain's industrial past. He set out 6 weeks ago with his steersman Alf Molyneux in search of all the things that went into building and running an engine like this. So far, they've seen where the iron ore was mined and turned into steel. They've seen how castings were made and looked at boiler making, riveting and forging. They've now been joined by Fred's sons, Jack and Roger, who are going to stay with him until the end of the tour. Like Fred, they're both steam enthusiasts, and there's plenty for them to do with their friends at the Howard Brothers workshop.
Easy, don't it? Yeah, pleased with that, I am.
For Fred, it's like an Aladdin's cave here, with all sorts of interesting engines at various stages of repair and restoration.
Oh, this is a bit of a rarity, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, very early one, this.
It's an antique.
1884, this.
Yeah.
When we get it steaming, it'll be the oldest steamroller steaming. You know, there are some older ones, but they're in museums and aren't steaming.
Yeah,
So
one in Birmingham, isn't there?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be an interesting engine. Very interesting.
There's some bits that we've worked out, haven't we, about the regulator rod.
That's right, yeah.
That one's like a lash-up.
Yeah.
The original one had a bell crank and come along top of
That's right,
yeah.
Yeah,
this is interesting, isn't it? Like, cylinder end cover and then this other cover.
Yeah.
And it survived
Well, it can only go into
valve chest.
Into valve chest. That's all it can obey. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're teeny rivets, aren't they? They're not so big. Yeah.
They'd probably be 11/16 originally, because they used to use a lot of weird 16th sizes.
It's still a bit pitted there.
Yeah.
Fred's own engine is in the workshop here because he's found out that there is a problem with one of the bearings.
Jack took it upon himself to take off the front wheel and have a look at this problem of, you know, the liquid brass coming out the bearing. I mean, we've known about it for a week or two. And, you know, it's in quite a mess, really. It'll not stop us carrying on, but there's something terrible happened in between the brass bearing in the hub of the wheel and the actual shaft. It's lost about a 32nd of an inch underneath, you know, with the weight of the engine resting on it. But when we get back home, we're going to have to do some serious mechanicking. I mean, there's been no weight at all on with
The great thing about being in a place like this is that there's plenty of expert advice on hand.
You know, if it's some of this aluminium bronze and things like that.
Some of that's bloody awful anyway. Try to drill a hole in it. You pig, I don't know. Never mind.
That's the way they crumble cookies, isn't
it? Yeah. I'll let Jack finish job off.
So the engine is going to be out of service for a few days. But while Jack works on it, Fred has still got places he wants to visit.
Leaving the engine here today and going down the road to see Mr. David Ragsdale, who's the owner of 6 traction engines. And the main reason we're going is he's a master at the art of pattern making.
From ornamental park railings to the cylinder block of a traction engine, everything that was made out of iron had to be cast. The casting was done in a mould, and to create the mould, a pattern had to be made.
Once they'd made the pattern, they could use it dozens and dozens of times, you see, so they made many engines through this system. The thing is that in the 1920s, you know, and 30s, when the demise of the traction engine were very obvious to most people, they all got burned, you know. So, you know, anybody now who buys an engine that's got a dicky part has got to come here and see Mr. Ragsdale, who specialises in making patterns from the remains of the original bit. or a drawing.
well,
We've been at it long, right?
Yeah, I was apprenticed when I was 16. I've been at it 25 years now.
Yeah. People don't realise the bloody skill involved in this, because you've got to make the pattern slightly bigger than the end product, because when the metal solidifies again, it shrinks.
That's right, it's contraction.
Yeah.
We have special rulers to give us an allowance for that.
Yeah.
I mean, like cast iron's 1/4 inch in every 12.5 or 1 inch in every 100 inch.
I didn't know that.
Aluminium varies, it's 1 inch in every 77 inch. And steel's the greatest, that's 1 inch in every 48 inch. It contracts a lot more.
That's incredible,
Twice
isn't
as it is, really. Yeah.
While Fred gets involved in the mathematics of pattern making, Alf and Jimmy are more interested in the magnificent collection of engines that David and his father own.
Oh, Fred don't bloody get one of these, we don't polish him with total without brass on it. It's size them back wheels, eh? It's a first size, isn't it? It's a beauty, isn't it?
Where's it come from? Wales.
Princes of Wales, I believe it's called.
Not much, yeah.
No, I think we'd be better on this size, Jimmy.
There's less brass on that.
Oh, this is sort of the front end, isn't it? Butch bracket bits off obviously a convertible one.
Yeah, it's all segmentals cut out of segments and glued together. I mean, there'll be 20 or 30 pieces of wood in that section and a similar amount of segments in that section. I mean, when you're filling things like that, it's all feel. You know, it's,
yeah.
I mean, is that...
Well, if for a skillful man, if it feels good, it generally is. I mean, and your eyesight.
That's right.
Some people don't have that business of, that's right, you know, it looks good and you can feel it with your eyes shut. Yeah, so you've like got the original one down here, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean,
there's a nasty crack there, isn't there? It's nearly in 2 arms, isn't it?
It is. I mean, normally that's the reason that the headstock has to be remade, because the chimney base is rotten.
Oh, you'll be painting it all red, that will you?
Yeah, that all to be finished in pattern red, like this one here that we've to take to foundry actually. So perhaps we should get set sail, should we? And take her.
Castings for things like the cylinder block and the pistons on a traction engine like Fred's were made at small foundries like this, and every casting had to have a pattern.
Well, today, Fred, we're going to be making this engine block, and it's the old Stanley steamer, which was made in Massachusetts in America, 1897. What we're going to do now is to make an impression in sand, an air-setting sand, of the outside of it and the internal side, and put it all together and cast it. That's the pattern, so we'll get the sand now and run that.
This is just one half of the mould.
Put this good sand in, into the mould.
To create the casting, another mould like this will have to be created and clamped on top of this one. When the sand has set, the wooden pattern is taken out and it leaves an impression in the sand in the shape of the outside of the casting.
Right, now we're going to black the mould. We set fire to that, and that stops the molten metal penetrating the sand.
I like this bit. Like the Christmas.
At that stage when your fingers catch fire.
Seems a waste of good spirit, that, Fred, doesn't it?
I could just do with a pint.
So if we put this...
Then a solid core is put in to create the hollow inside of the casting.
So now we're ready for the final closure.
The lid on.
Now the two halves of the mould are put together.
And it's all ready for casting, so we've got the molten metal ready. Shall we go and see it poured?
When you're melting brass, you need about 1,000 degrees C, don't you?
I've actually done a bit of brass. We had a little crucible pot.
Yeah.
And I made this like matte-like, and so they all come out like L-shaped brackets for nailing round lightning conductors.
Ah, right.
But on the first attempt, my mum's Hoover running for about an hour, you know, and it funny smell come out of it and at the end of it. I graduated to a proper fan later on.
You made quite a few of them then?
Yeah, over years, but the demand's gone with the chimneys.
Well, that's right.
Once the moulds have been filled, the hot metal is left to cool. But that's going to take hours, and Fred has got some unfinished business back at David's place.
See you, mate.
See you.
Ta-ra.
Barry. See you, Dave.
Oh, this is a splendid machine.
Back at his workshop, David takes Fred to meet his father and to have a look at their collection of engines.
Morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Oh, not so bad. David showed me a picture of what you started with for this, you know, and it was nothing, was it?
Well, no, it was heap of little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
They said they'd saved some of it, so like the safety valves and the trunk guide and some of the motion work had been saved, but the rest had been scrapped.
The cylinder block, that would be a first challenge for you, wouldn't it?
We hadn't got a lot of detail of that. We've got a view on the side and the back, so aesthetically it looks correct.
Yeah.
But the internals, we got a drawing for the bit larger engine and reduce the sizes for what it would have been for 3-tonner. In fact, we've got cylinder block pattern, if you want to have a look at it, Fred.
Yeah. Oh, all them are the core boxes, are they? For
That's right. Well, most of them, they're not all here.
Yeah.
There's about 6 weeks' work.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
This is for your valve
chest.
chest.
Valve chest. Yeah.
You want to have a run on this engine then, Fred?
Oh, yeah, that'll be good. That. All right. Well, then we have a go.
Aye, she's a little bit lively.
Yeah.
She's a little bit livelier than Roller.
Yeah, well,
you'll get used to it.
Tractor's pretty jump rears
well,
up,
aye. Well, just with being a single, she's a bit on livelier side, but I'm sure you'll get used to it.
Which one do you want?
Oh, the burrow.
The burrow, that's
compound
that
logo.
wants repairing, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'll want that Alchin, half-size Alchin.
Right. I see what you mean, yeah. Come on, baby. Go on.
It's rock bar.
Wait a minute.
Give her it now.
See what you mean.
You think you're safe enough here?
I don't know.
It's noisier than ours, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because they've not replaced the gearing, have they? I wonder if they have insurance with Dad driving.
I don't know. I hope he's coming.
Stand well back, lads. Fred's only a learner on this engine.
Locked him up.
Bonny machine, this. Lovely paint job, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's coming faster down here, though.
Fred got to know steam enthusiasts from all over Britain, and on his travels he came across people who put steam power to all sorts of interesting uses. When he was around here a couple of years ago, he visited a garden centre whose owner was a great steam man.
Most people think that the great age of steam is dead, but this whole nursery is actually powered by steam. Not only does it keep the water boiling in the pipes, but it generates all the electricity for the lighting. I think I'll go and have a look at where the main source of power is. This is Tom Nuttall here, who's going to be something of a steam buff, because all this stuff in here has been collected by him over the years, you know, and some of it powers the electrical department of his nursery. And tell us, Tom, how long commercially have you been steaming off timber?
I think, Fred, it all started at miners' strike, really. And of course we couldn't get any coal, so we decided to go into the steam boiler. And then we said, if we're having steam, why not generate our own electricity? We've got free wood, we've got free electricity, we've got free heat. I thought, well, brilliant. You know, all we need to do now is get all piped into the system, and away we go.
I mean, you've got a nursery and a museum as well there, all driven by steam.
The fuel Tom uses is wood that he gets free from a local furniture factory. If he didn't take it, it would all have to go to a landfill site. He burns 20 tons of it every day in this big industrial boiler to raise the steam to power the generator. The electricity that he generates would be enough to meet the needs of a small hamlet of about 50 houses.
That's a beginning.
Well, there's 60 tons there, Fred. And they'd been trying to find a home for that for 20 years, and we just got there 2 weeks before the scrap man got there. Unbelievable.
Is that what's termed as a triple expansion?
Yeah, triple expansion. Most of these engines over the last 30 or 40 years have just been burnt up for scrap. But if the mill owners are still there, they fell in love with these engines, and so they wanted to see them preserved. And a place like this couldn't be better. We're fortunate we've got free steam, so we can steam them all day long if we want to.
What's your next big project then?
The next big project, where we've got a bit of a problem round the side on this engine round here. Would you like to have a look at that?
Oh, yeah.
We've got a nasty problem just here.
Yeah.
When we come to start this side of this engine up, we found a nasty crack along that valve. If you could just pass that out, Steve, you can see it was cracked straight from the root, across the face, and down to the other side.
Nearly broke in two, isn't it?
Almost broke in half. So we've had it metal stitched. You can see that job there, Fred. So we're just going to put it back together now, Fred, and see if it'll run. So the lads are on with it, and we'll warm it up.
And now, with the job done, the moment has come to see if it will steam again.
Success!
Here we are, Fred, running.
Yeah.
First time that's run for 20 years.
Get all this lot screwed together, you know, you want to take a lot of time and manner with
When you've got 5 minutes to spare, Fred, you won't come and have half a day.
You could spend half my life here, really.
Back at base, the wheel's ready to go back onto the engine. But Fred's not happy that he had a problem in the first place.
Bit disappointing that, but it's one of the simpler bits of engineering that's somehow gone completely haywire. I wouldn't like to do another 5,000 miles.
Right, come and drop it.
It's incredible, isn't it, how it's worn, that. Look at that.
Very, do you want to drop it?
Oh, no, hang on, we might as well clean it while we can still turn it round. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this.
You know what happens when you volunteer? Nobody stops you.
We're ready for action again. We're ready to steam down the road.
Not a few 100 miles yet.
Oh, we'll wear out before that falls bits.
Even when I did it, I was a bit worried about, you know, having it welded up and then turning it again, you know, but, I mean, the quality of welding now is pretty good, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that side should be all right, Fred, but I mean, what's the brass that you've used? Is it proper phosphor bronze?
Yeah, you know, it come out of the scrapyard and I couldn't actually say. Really, my problem's an outcome with yours.
Well, no.
You know, your engine.
Ian Howard and Jack Meeker have both been busy restoring their own engines, which had been destroyed in a fire here at the workshops.
Been steamed since the 60s sort of thing. And I've just about got it done, all repainted and everything. I think if things had gone on as they were, I'd have been out this year with it, wouldn't I? And,
bloody hell, that's terrible, isn't it?
You know, it's back to square one now.
But there are plenty of young enthusiasts around here to give a hand with the rebuild.
When my little lad rung me up and said, you know, our brothers have had a terrible accident, I actually cried, you know, on phone. You know, they worked that hard, you know, and I've watched them for years, you know, with the engine. And then for have it bloody destroyed, you know.
When it had just happened, I didn't know whether to sell the engine or what to do. But
oh, don't do that. All hope is not lost.
We'll fill it till again.
And Alf's looking forward to getting back on the road again.
Alt highlights of people waving, speaking to us, taking our photos. Wouldn't ask for a cut-off Kodak. We must have made a bloody fortune out of all.
You won't get the bloody corking.
With the wheel back on, it's time for the road again. But there's always some little job that's needed first. Time to move on. And on the narrow lanes around here, you never know what you're going to meet up with.
That was a tight fit. This engine was built in a workshop, completely powered by belt-driven machinery. And we're now going to go down to a workshop that's not changed for 100 years, more or less, where they make clocks and repair clocks. And it's all belt-driven. This is Ashbourne in Derbyshire, which of course has always been famous for making clocks. And this family firm has been in business since 1826. Hello, Charles.
Hello, Fred.
How do you do, sir?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I've come to have a look at your wonderful workshop.
Thank you very much. We've had this business since 1826, but it goes much further back than that because the business started under the name of Harlow in Ashbourne in 1740. I suppose you might say that they were blacksmiths at that time, and we're still making new ones.
Yeah, I see, Charles, you've got this wonderful line shaft in that drives all your machinery, you know. Does it all work?
Yeah, it all works. You don't find many of them now.
No, I know. They're quite rare.
It's a unique survival.
Clockmaking is engineering on a small scale, and clockmakers were the first mechanics.
There's something here, Fred, you might be interested in, and that's a new clock movement that Neil's working on.
Yeah.
My son.
Yeah, brand new, eh? Yeah, it's bonny, that, isn't it? You've got your number stamped on it.
That's right.
Number
That's the
104.
Yes, that's the first one made this year.
Who does the woodwork?
There's an awful lot of good cabinet makers about, but finding somebody that's got the eye for proportion for a clock case.
I know what you mean.
Is completely different, and it's something that's been lost over the years, I think.
It'll be removed to some palatial residence, that then, will it?
We hope so. The quality's certainly high enough.
Oh, I can see that.
If you look at the pinions inside, Fred, they're cut from high carbon steel in the soft state, and then to make them last several lifetimes, we harden them.
Yeah.
But the process of hardening them, quenching them in the oil, it distorts them.
Yeah.
So they have to be tempered down and then set again by hand by stretching them on the side of a vice by hitting them with a hammer.
See them little teeny
The little marks there where the sides of the pinions have just been stretched and then they're balanced up by hand again.
When you think back to, like, 1700s, when you look at these clocks, like beautiful teeth, how did they do that?
We can show you.
We're going to show you how the teeth are cut in the wheels now, that are the same wheels that we saw on the new clock. And this machine was built in 1910 in the Black Forest in Germany.
Okay, Fred, ready to go?
Ready for action.
Just need to start the line shaft.
In the 1890s, the company employed about 25 people, but today the demand for handmade clocks is not as high as it was then.
Completely different.
So as well as their clocks, they now use their precision engineering skills to make model engines and replicas of some of the earliest machinery of the Industrial Revolution. Back then, in the late 18th century, it was the development of these mechanicking skills that led to Britain leading the world in the building of engines like this one of Fred's. Fred's now got a long journey ahead from Derbyshire to Shropshire, and along the way, he's going to have to fill his 60-gallon tank a couple of times. One of the reasons he's been having problems getting water into his tank is that he's got an important item of equipment missing. To keep their tanks full of water, the traction engine men of old used to use a water lifter suction hose. This enabled them to get water from any horse trough they went past, or from lakes and roadside streams when they were out in the country. Fred should have had one of these with him. In fact, he even went to the manufacturers in Manchester to help make it just before setting off.
we've got to go to Manchester to a company called Riveters, who've been making water lift hose pipes for about 70 or 80 years. You know, in fact, there's one of the, I think the only one left in all of Great Britain who still actually makes them by the same process and everything. And the importance of the water lifter is well, as its name says, you come to a stream and you chuck the end of the pipe in the water, turn the steam on, and it fills the engine up for you, you see. How do you do?
Nice to see you.
Frank, isn't it?
Fine, thank you, yeah.
Well, we brought bits and pieces, but
Right,
I know you've started making a pipe that's like 1.5 inch internal diameter, haven't you?
We have, yeah.
We've got a bit of a motley collection of sieves.
I can see that,
These two are like same 1.5 inch, but this nut, it's not the right one for that, is it? It
No,
should be a better
not,
fit.
Yeah, it is.
And we won't have a do at mending that, but you know.
Hardly worth the effort, is it?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure we can find one for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to make your way through?
Yeah,
and,
right.
We'll
Go on,
go.
then. Right.
Yeah, please. This is Morris.
Right.
Morris.
Hi, Morris.
You know
How
Fred.
are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
You're doing all right.
All right.
Right. This is actually
Yeah, then.
the hose that you have on order, and I'll pick you up before you leave us.
All right,
okay.
mate.
Bye for now.
See you in a bit.
Okay.
Right, Fred, now what we've got now is an 1 3/4 mandrel, and this is a spacer that we use to actually preset the wire.
Yeah, I've got quite a few lengths of this at home, but it's about 90 years old and all rotten.
Yeah. You like to have a go, Fred?
Yeah.
No problem.
Without spoiling it.
Okay, right. Just keep a grip on there.
Yeah,
Keep
what, downwards?
Yeah, that's it. Just keep it hand tight on there. Yeah, and that's it. The machine will do it for you.
Some of them grumble, don't they, about knocking paintwork off the traction engines. Seems to be coming out equally spaced.
Yeah.
I've got the job.
Right, now we'll go down now, and we'll start on the actual construction of it now. All constructed by hand. Right, this is called HF2 natural now. Just like up and over.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it, yeah.
It's a bit frightening, this, isn't it?
Any hands make light work?
My pipe will be full of lumps.
Push it up.
Yeah.
Pull it over. That's it. Push it up and pull it over. The second piece that we put on is a lot easier.
Second piece is easier.
That's going to be nice.
What's the next bit?
We've got the outline of it now then.
Yeah.
Right. What we do is, it's just a straightforward process of what we've already done. It's another ply of the fabric, the HF2 fabric. Then we'll go on again with another 2 ply of HF2 natural. Then we'll apply a linen string and just wrap it over with a spool.
In between them wires.
In between the wires, yeah. That'll leave an indentation then when we strip it off
I know what you
for
mean,
the outer wire to go on.
Very good.
Yeah.
Here's Frank. Hello. Have you found any end bits yet?
Not yet, but we're still searching the stock, and no doubt we'll be successful.
Right. When will it be done then?
This will be done for tomorrow dinner.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, I suppose we'd better go home and let Morris finish this pipe
on with it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Right,
Come on, lads.
Okay, lads.
I'll see you later.
Okay. Okay, cheers.
Yeah.
And you, Fred. Okay,
Yeah,
mate.
thanks very
Cheers.
much for making me my
No
pipe.
problem. You're all right. No problem.
But Fred couldn't get the fittings he needed in time for setting off on his grand tour. What a lot of problems it would have saved if he'd been able to get the right fittings for the suction hose in time. Anyway, he's got a full tank now and it's full steam ahead for the Severn Valley Railway to see some engine building. At the railway, Fred will be seeing some of the stages of building a steam locomotive. And on the way, he'll be stopping off at a traction engine club to meet up with some more old mates and to see some engines at work. Fred Dibnah is now 8 weeks into his grand tour of industrial Britain. It's a celebration of the fact that after 27 years, he's just completed his rebuild of the engine, and also of the remarkable achievements of the engineers and industrial workers whose endeavours made it possible to build an engine like this in the first place. He wants to see the sort of place where an engine like this would have been built. Today, the only places where you can get any idea of what was involved in building big steam engines on a large scale is at the works of some of the preserved railways. So Fred is on his way from Ashbourne in Derbyshire to Bridgnorth in Shropshire, where he's going to have a look at some of the engine building that is going on in the workshops of the Severn Valley Railway. It's a long journey, about 80 miles in total.
What here?
And Fred's engine isn't the fastest vehicle on the road. So Fred and his team are going to break their journey and have an overnight stop here at the headquarters of the North Staffs and Cheshire Traction Engine Club.
All these lads have a pint ready for them.
Yeah.
Members keep their engines here and generally come at the weekends to work on them or to take them off to rallies.
We'll never do get here.
So far, we've seen the traction engine as a mode of transport for getting Fred and his team around the country. But these engines were real workhorses, and in their time, they were put to a whole variety of uses.
A traction engine's a strange machine that was developed really from a lot of other engines. It all starts off in the 1840s when the country, of all places, where all the effort were put in by either animals or the human frame. The men in the country, the blacksmiths and village mechanics, as you might say, decided that they would make a small locomotive boiler and then stick on top of it a crankshaft and a cylinder with a flywheel and place it on 4 wooden wheels. So it could be used to drive thrashing machines and big saws and all that sort of stuff. It can be used in quarries to crush stone. It can be used to work portable water pumps. It was like a general doer of all things on working sites.
Here at the Traction Engine Club, we get the chance to see the engines at work.
Hey up, Fred.
Hiya.
Phil Jeffs is the chairman of the club.
Yeah, it's a few years now since I last came, and
It is.
things are looking just as nice. You know, it's a lovely place, this, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, you could live in here, you know, I could. How many living vans have you got here altogether?
Oh, I never count. There's probably 15 or 20.
Yeah, I bet there is. Yeah. What are you doing today, anyway?
You've just arrived in time.
Yeah.
We're going to pull that dead popper out there.
Yeah.
And we want to use the wood for some brake blocks for the engine.
Yeah, it's good for that. It don't set on fire, does it?
That's supposed to be the best.
Yeah, that's a fact,
And we're going to use the traction engine
to
the winch it out.
To pull it down, yeah.
We got Lady Hamilton to anchor it just in case. Let's hope it comes down as clean as one of your chimneys.
Yeah. Well, it should do.
Yeah.
We should be safe enough here, shouldn't we?
I hope so.
The boss is winding the wiring.
So you've got some tension on the rope anyway.
Yeah. Oh, bro. I reckon if we went about 15 or 20 foot up the tree, it'd have it easy. But you've got a lot of power, that. When it'll bloody pull something like that apart. I mean, look at that, what it's done to that. Yeah. I'll tell you what, if we go up 15 foot and it fails again, a double purchase, you know. Yeah, with a snatch block and hooked up back at the engine. Somebody's coming with the stacker truck.
Didn't the steeplejacking used to be Fred's job?
Easy way to go up in the world, that is.
Aye. I I reckon it'll do it now with that. Get it up there.
I heard it creak, but I think there was a lot more left.
A lot more creaks. We just done a big tree in our garden, you know, with bloody tuffers and all sorts, and the engine, that thing weren't done, you know, we've got a nice winch on it.
With the rope fixed higher up the tree, are they going to have any more success getting it down? It's a bit like waiting to see one of Fred's chimneys come down.
Fresh start.
Right, they're going for a pull.
Yes, it's coming.
Things snap nice and clean, didn't it?
Yeah.
You want to get the stump out now, don't you? Resort to dynamite.
Now it's time to get the tree sawed up for those brake blocks. And at a place like this, of course, the whole operation's going to be done by steam power.
It's amazing how many different makers there were of these things. Ransom, Sims and Jeffries, Savages, King's Lynn, Fowlers in Leeds, Eveling and Porter, Greens in Leeds, McLaren's in Leeds. There's literally dozens of these companies. Some only in a small way, like a village agricultural engineer that bought the casting somewhere else and assembled his own thing.
And what's Fred trying to get?
These are made of mahogany, you see. So on 3 inches thick, 7 inches deep, and 15 inches long, really. Can we remember all that? Bloody hell, wait a minute. With no paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 inches. 3 inches by 7 inches.
Yeah.
Right, then Colin, we've got our cutting list here. We couldn't find any paper, so our brake blocks are made of mahogany, you know, and that's the real McCoy, this, isn't it, this stuff?
Yeah.
But so if you could be so kind, and then we can leave them for season, and then we can throw them away and make nice brand new ones.
Right. You won't have to varnish.
I'll buy you a pint.
You won't have to varnish these, will you?
No.
All right, then we'll do that then.
And now it's time for an old traction engine rally tradition.
Right. We'll put the steps and the stick on, and then we'll declare the bar open.
That's it. Oh, this is very good. Yes, excellent. All right. I think really bringing this barrel of bitter here has all the potential for a good booze up, a steam booze up.
The farmer's off. The farmer's off.
In the olden days, we used to arrive at the steam rally with a full barrel of bitter and a load of glasses, and a lot of other people did as well, so it saved you spending your hard-earned cash at the beer tent, which were always inflated prices. It always led to unbelievable drunkenness.
Any more?
Not done it for a bit, so I'm quite looking forward to this afternoon. You know. I'll go have a talk with my mates over here. Hello, chaps, how you doing?
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
All right. Ooh.
Sit down.
Oh, it reminds me of me early misspent youth. How's your machine going, Colin?
Well, we can't wear it out.
Eh?
We can't wear it out.
Can't wear it out.
We're sewing more times than we're standing doing nothing at events this year. Trouble is, if you don't do it, the only thing the younger generation know in relation to a steam engine is Thomas the Tank Engine, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how many people walk up to you and say, what were they used for, master?
Yeah. Hello, Fred. I'm like, oh, look who's here.
He's trouble. He's
a
trouble.
steam man,
ban him.
an up-and-coming steam man. Yeah. Oh, they tell me you used to have some of the big railways as well.
Yes, Severn Valley Railway.
Yeah.
We're there in the week.
Big outfit, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. Really good.
Yeah.
You have to come along sometime.
Yeah, well, I think we're going there in a bit. You know.
Oh, yeah? I'll come
We'll call and have a look at you.
Yeah.
What exactly do you do there?
I'm a fitter machinist there.
Yeah. Well, the lathes and all that, right?
Yeah, all that. Then we go and put them on the engines.
Yeah.
All the bits we do.
Richard Jeffs has grown up with steam and engineering in his blood. He's part of a new generation keeping the world of steam alive.
Hey up, Fred. How are we doing? All right. We're just talking about the Steam Apprentice Club.
Oh, that's a good idea, that, really, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's amazing how many kids there are, you know. Somebody mentioned it earlier. Bloody Thomas the Tank Engine, and how does it work and all that jazz, eh?
Well, we've got nigh on 700 kids in the Apprentice Club now.
That's good for our movements, isn't it, really?
Saying I was just talking to John, I joined when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 25 now.
You're an old man now, yeah. It's amazing, I don't realise how old I am, you know. You get blokes come, big as him, and they say, when I was little, you let me have a ride on your steamroller, you know.
Well, that's what starts them off, and then they come along. And nowadays, because everything's got to be a bit more controlled and regulated, we've got a logbook scheme so that youngsters actually work through a scheme which takes them through the basics of working an engine. That's the problem these days, is that kids are more interested in PlayStations and steam engines just seem to take a background. I'm just glad that the Steam Apprentice Club is bringing it forward. Introducing the younger generation to the steam engine, because eventually I'm going to get old, and I want people younger than me following on behind me.
Jack's like he took to it like a duck to water, really.
There's some people you could train them for 10 years and they still never know.
I know what you mean. Jack's sort of introduction to steam engines were unavoidable, really. I mean, he arrived into an household full of steam engines. He's always shown a great and dedicated interest in the world of steam engines. He's pretty smart, and he started his first job on the Isle of Man Railway Company. So, he's not half-heartedly going about it. Quite proud of him, really. I mean, you've heard how dedicated Roger is to it. I want to go, Dad, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. Back a bit.
But for Fred, too many of these skills have been lost.
Somewhere along the line from the Victorian age, we started to lose it. I think a lot of it's got to do with education. I remember a period when they threw all the lathes out of technical colleges and all the woodwork benches and everything with theory. A man can learn how to lay bricks now in 6 months. That's impossible. Can you imagine lads doing catering, cooking? I know everybody wants to be a Foyd, is it? It's all a bit sad in a way. I can't see that teaching a little lad today at school how to bake a cake is any way to run an industrial empire.
And one of the things that's given Fred great satisfaction as he's travelled around making his programmes is the number of young people he's seen learning the skills that are needed to keep steam alive.
I'm in charge of the water. Are we ready?
And it's not just been the lads.
And the brake.
And here at the Traction Engine Club, they need as many young enthusiasts as they can get, because there's plenty of work to be done.
We've got a low spot in the ground here. It's all made up ground.
Yeah.
And it tends to puddle in the winter and everything. So what they're doing is using the club engine, Lady Hamilton. It's got a scarifier on, and they're digging the ground up, and we're going to try and level it out and roll it back down.
A bit more on,
yeah.
It's handy, isn't it, when you've got all your own road making gear?
Well, it's been restored. Let's use it for the purpose that it was designed, really. If we can't make a road here, then nobody can. Just putting a few roofing tiles in to make up the ground.
Yeah, I can see, They're good, them, aren't they? The Redland.
Yes.
Yeah, my drive where my tarmac bit joins onto the cinders, it's bloody disappearing though. I could do doing a bit of that myself, like.
The proof will be next time it rains.
Yeah, it should be all right,
I should think so, yes.
And now some more old friends to meet.
Hello, Leonard. Hello. Not drunk, it's my leg that's a bit wacky.
You all right, mate?
You all right? Not so bad, mate.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I see you still like the old Guinness shop.
Oh, yes. I've just been to the pub for this. You're very fortunate I'm in this club here.
It's good planning.
With a pub with that side at gate and one of this and a motley collection of steam engine owners.
That's right, yes.
They'll be brilliant,
How long's it been going then? We come 30 years ago.
I don't know. Phil was a guy today. He was 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, it's nice down, isn't it? I heard a rumour you've got a bit of a problem with old firebox
Yeah, on the Fowler.
Aye, aye.
Well, it's the old story. I've had it, what, 35 years now. And the old boiler, of course, has to be inspected every 10 years for hydraulic pressure. I've got it all stripped ready at home for the inspection. He looked at the boiler tubes and he said, oh, he said, I'm afraid the boiler tubes aren't changing. But I've been without an engine now for 2 months.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a bit sort of...
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. It's like going to a steam rally without your engine, you feel out of place.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so doing the riveting, you know, you know the noise it makes.
Yeah.
Well, I've had to go next door neighbours, 2 or 3 that way.
Tell them.
2 or 3 that way.
Yeah,
So it's between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, I'm riveting again.
Yeah.
So they all arrange to go out shopping.
Wait a minute, right.
And this is where Len Crane does all that riveting. The Bratch pumping station is near Wolverhampton, and as well as working on his traction engines here, Len's devoted years of his life to restoring the great triple expansion engines in here that we use for pumping the water. When Fred left the Traction Engine Club the next day, he called in to see how his old mate was getting on with the job.
The last time we come, you showed me all the engine and most of it were in bits, weren't it?
Take you to pieces,
and
yes.
now you've worked out how many years? About 6 or 7
6 years.
Oh, yeah.
Well, 91 we first came in to start.
Yeah.
And
you had no boiler, did you? No,
nothing at all. Nothing at all.
And
I bought the boiler second-hand from a lemonade factory.
Yeah.
They found that it wasn't big enough, the capacity of the steam.
Yeah.
And they had to buy a bigger
boiler, so you got
and I bought that second-hand, yeah.
But the engines inside, them are a credit to them, man. They're beautiful. Eh? Could use them in any sort of big liner pictures like the Titanic job.
When I was 12 years old, we used to be in the field next door and we built our first 3.5 and 5 inch gauge miniature railway.
Yeah.
And I cycled to there from West Bromwich.
From home, right?
Yeah, from West Bromwich. And we built the railway there and a Sunday evening, when we shut down, I used to walk along the canal to here, knock the door, and the chief engineer then, Mr. Hunt, used to let us come in and watch the engines going.
Oh, that's nice.
Never thinking when I was coming up to 70 I'd have the keys.
Yeah, I've done things like that, you know.
Yeah,
when you're little and you're looking with your mouth open at it all, and then, bloody hell, later on in your life,
that's right.
You're actually in charge.
I've not done the engines like my traction engines and models before, but never done one that big. I don't think I shall do one any bigger now.
No. We're getting a bit long into it. It's pretty bigger than that. Yeah, we'll go down into the pumping department.
Yes. Go in here, Fred. This is where it all goes on.
Very impressive.
Yeah. On your running light, of course. If you imagine if it was pumping water, there'd be a hell of a throbbing here now. In fact, this is what they used to hear over the road in the houses I mentioned before. I think the flywheels as well, you see. I mean, they're hell of a thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
The crankshaft, of course, that was made at Liverpool. And stamped on it is the year it was forged, manufactured, which was 1892, I think, it's all the three.
Yeah, just think on bottom at sea, there'll be a lot of things like that. Right?
Oh yeah, lovely engine.
All barnacles. Yeah, lovely. Not shiny like this.
Now it's time for the Severn Valley Railway. And Fred's still finding it a bit of a novelty to be driving his own engine.
It's quite strange, really, because never having owned a traction engine of my own, even though I've driven quite a few dozen of different makes, you go to steam doers and they all, you know, oh, you want to go on my engine and all that, like. And of course, it's quite nice when you get a chance to drive your own. After 20 odd years of struggling and restoration to get it into the state that I wanted it, like a new one, as you might say.
Fred and his team have now reached Bridgnorth in Shropshire. The Severn Valley Railway runs trains between here and Kidderminster in Worcestershire. The line was built in the mid-1850s. The 7 Valley Railway runs trains between here and Kidderminster in Worcestershire. The line was built in the mid-1850s. The 7 Valley Railway runs trains between here and Kidderminster in Worcestershire. The line was built in the mid-1850s. Here there's an engine repair shed which gives us an idea of what a loco works would have been like back in the age of steam railways. Fred met John Robinson, the production manager, to have a look round.
Bit outsized for this line.
Yeah.
Which is built in the
I've been before as a spectator, right?
Yeah.
That reminds me of when I was a kid down here.
Yeah.
Plenty of smoke and the smell of sulphur. Yeah.
Yep.
This is a nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. He's on test for the vehicle acceptance body there, rescue.
Yeah.
This engine over here, that's an 8F. There was 840 of them on BR. This one was out in the Second World War. He was out in Persia and Egypt. Let's have a look on board then.
Aye. Now then. Oh, there we go. Aye.
This is Roy. He's just been getting it ready.
You've been warming it up.
Warming it up, yep.
Yeah. Fire all those summer, didn't it? Big lumps then, aren't they? Yeah.
That's nice stuff.
Yeah, I call it, when it's good, I call it radioactive cold. You know, when you get some, but it's a waste of space, isn't it? You know, as soon as you start taking any steam off, it just disappears. Pipe work's nice and simple on here, isn't it? There's not too much of it, like injectors and brake job.
I can pick it straight up then,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it is. It's funny, if you go from a steam engine from the LMS, you go on a Western one, you can still pick up what's what on it, even though they're from different companies, you can actually pick it out on there. When the wars came, the government and that were quite surprised at the ability of the workshops, of the railways, of what they could actually do.
Yeah,
and of course they started to turn them into working for the war effort. They got tremendous, the railway factories, really were. I don't think we can make a bean can now.
Well, you're getting near to the point there. You can pick a book up about boiler making, and it's written by an academic who's never mended a boiler, and I made one.
That's right.
And it says, and the rivets are closed.
Yes.
It doesn't tell you how they're closed. And there's no way you're going to learn that by reading the book.
You like to go and have a look at the workshops? And
Well, come on, follow you, John.
OK, right. Magic. Take care as you come down. From being a good shed, we gutted it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
all
the machines from elsewhere.
Yeah, I can put them in. And I've done a stack of them in my time. There you go. Aye, I think you know this fella.
He's
one of your
traction engine man. Yeah. How do you do? How are you doing, mate?
All right.
Oh, what are you doing now?
Just removing the old studs.
Oh, it's brass now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
These little holes, I mean, I'm looking at them, I thought it's a blowhole, but it isn't, is it?
No, it's drain
It's a drain hole, isn't it, from the inside of this receiver, like?
Yep.
When it's all coming out condensing, and it runs out.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, that, isn't it? I think I'll do that to my tractor. Because, you know, you're always full of bloody water that splashes about all over the place.
Yeah.
George was the guy who taught Graham, who's our boiler foreman, all about the boilers from British Railways, because he was the Chief London Midland Region Inspector.
Oh, you're Graham, you're all right, mate, yeah. You would come having a look around your shed and all, and see what you do.
I'll leave you with Graham, Fred, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, all right, John.
Okay,
yeah, see you, mate.
Right,
this is I can see you putting bits in on the flange bit, aren't you?
Aye, you can see the one that came out. It's a bit worn, so we put some inserts in.
Have you got that out of there with a cutter?
Yes, a plasma cutter. Yeah. Oh, this is a copper tube like we've just finished, Fred. You can see the
2 new pieces on the flanges.
That's right, and you bring the tube holes and screw up the plate.
It's ready for going in, isn't it? Like a brand new bit.
Yeah.
And this bit here is same treatment, isn't it?
Yes, same treatment.
Yeah,
the copper door plate.
Yeah. Really, for anybody who's don't know anything about locomotive boilers, this is a wonderful example of explaining it nice and simple, you know. Like this big gap round here is full of water. And the stairs to these bolts that hold the plates together, if they weren't there and you lit the fire, it would blow up. And of course the fire is in this chamber. Really, we're looking where all the pipes will be and all the tubes that are necessary for its running. You can see there's been a lot of work done in this thing in years gone by, can't you? Because even the fire hole plate's been screwed in, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Originally, it will be riveted.
Originally riveted.
Yeah.
As it's been repaired.
Yeah.
various railway works, they take the rivets out and put copper
Yeah.
screws in, yeah. No, when it was originally built, it was all monostage.
Yeah, as they failed, they've put only copper ones in.
Yes, as they've gone up a size.
Yeah, blimey heck, yeah. Oh, and then we all know what sort of a struggle that'd be.
Fred spent so long in the boiler shop that by the time he had left, the last train had departed, so there was no time for any footplate rides here. It was time to move on. From Bridgnorth, he had to get to the Black Country Museum in Dudley to find out how the chains that are used for steering his engine were made. Chains made in the Black Country were renowned for their quality all over the world. At the end of the 19th century, 90% of all the chain workshops in England and Wales were here in the Black Country. Most of them were very small, in the backyards of the workers' houses.
Stop now, stop.
They've managed to find their way here, even though you won't find the Black Country marked on any map.
Let's go and have a look at this pit.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
It's an industrial area to the west of Birmingham that was originally based on coal mining and iron working. It got its name in the 19th century, when thousands of chimneys filled the air with smoke and mining turned the ground inside out, creating huge expanses of industrial dereliction.
It's not as nice looking as your headgears.
No, I didn't, is it?
They've not put any shaped sections on.
This cage is new, you know, since we last came. Hey, look at this, a draining trough for winding water, eh? Up comes the thingamabob, badoosh, and down the trough into the river. Yeah, it's all interesting stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at all these wheels.
I don't think there's anything connected.
And there's always going to be an engine to have a look at.
Yeah.
That's only a little, isn't it?
Yeah, nice though, isn't it? Yeah, got the drum outside, haven't it, in another shed.
Did you say that at George's Lane pit was similar size to
exactly
this?
the same as this, yeah. Nice engine.
What would that spring be for?
Oh, well, no, there's a point. Big spring, I know, for start it, this lever here, this, that one, when you lift it up, it lifts the...
Lift it off that pin?
Yeah, and the eccentric rod came along and worked a way shaft across here. 1860s on this engine, you can tell. Yeah. Musical, isn't it? Look at that. An electric storm lamp. Yeah. Well, there's the indicator board there, isn't it? We'll have made one of them, won't we?
They're going to park the engine up and stay around here tonight, ready for their visit to the chainmaker tomorrow. As well as the chain making, Fred is going to one of the places where all the copper for an engine like this was mined, and he's going to find out how the copper was spun and made into parts for the engine. Fred Dibnah and his team have reached the Black Country on their grand tour of Britain's industrial past. They parked their engine up at the Black Country Living Museum here in Dudley last night, and they're going to visit a chain maker here.
Where's that come from?
Their journey has brought them here because this used to be the centre of chain making, and chains form an important part of the engine.
Our engine's actually steered by chains. We've come here to the Black Country Museum to see a gentleman making chains in exactly the same way as this chain would have been made in 1912, without any fancy electric welding or anything like that.
Why was it called the Black Country?
Well, as well as making lots of chains and big anchors like these, they dug a lot of coal for fire the furnaces. We weren't very far down, you know, and it were all like the pillar and stall method. And of course, they left a lot of pillars of coal in that eventually set on fire. And of course, there was smoke coming out at ground and all of that sort of thing. Yeah. And it were not a very nice place to live. But all that's over with now, you know. There's not so much of the Black Country black anymore. By the end of the 19th century, the Black Country were world famous for the ironwork that they made. And of course, chains were one of the main things, you know, but they made everything from chains for Titanic, big links this thick, to teeny little chains, you know, for tiny dogs at railings, And Jeff over here, who I've known for quite a few years now, in fact, he once had me make a link for a chain. It weren't joined onto the chain though, you know, it was just a link. Oh, beautiful that, Jeff.
How you doing, all right?
How many links have you made since I last come seeing you?
I'll give up counting. First time I've I think counting them.
Yeah. You know, I bought some modern chains the other day. They charged me 112 quid. I think 212 quid, I think it was, for 2 pieces of chain about that long. That's all it amounted to. You know, and I never thought I could have come here, you know, and got it for half the bloody price no doubt. Yeah.
You'd probably have to have more still rather than raw tire.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, you know, it's not really
Oh, it still does the job, yeah.
What's biggest you can do, like on...
The biggest I could work on this, 15, 16. I mean, the biggest I know of on the big files was 6.5-inch diameter.
Well, that's really big, though, isn't it?
And that's when you're swinging hammers like that one.
Yeah, do work. With 2 handles.
That's it, 2-man hammers, 28-pounders to £56.
Yeah.
3-man hammers about £140.
Yeah, I once seen this archive film, making an anchor. There must have been about 7 of them with an hammer each.
Yeah.
And a load of million sledgehammers all beating it, and it were going less and less and less. And it looked quite lopsided, you know, and I thought, how are they going to get it back like? And then another bunch of lads appeared with lumps of like 2-inch bar all sparking on the end. And they each individually shoved them in and bang, bang, and then another guy come and cut the end off, all with the round swages. They beat it all in.
And the split end timing, superb.
Yeah, all them men will be dead, won't they? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's what this country was made on.
Yeah.
Time for a demonstration. Alf and Jimmy are impressed.
I'll tell you what, it's quick.
It's quick. I've no doubt there's a lot of skill in that.
It was all done this way at one time.
And women were involved in it, I believe. You know, like a little family business, like.
That's another done. Quick.
We'll go and get tailing, Jimmy. Are you going to go with chip shop?
Right. Yeah, well, this is just the job, isn't it?
For Jimmy.
Not too many customers.
He's gone for chips. He'll not be a minute, I don't think.
Hey.
Oh,
it's all right. It's all right.
Best fish and chips in the country.
Oh, you soon managed that, didn't you? Is these mine?
Whichever.
Thank you. Hey, this is like the old-fashioned style, isn't it? In a 3-cornered bag made of newspaper.
Smell good, don't they?
Oh, they're lovely, these, aren't they?
Bloody hot.
Bloody hell, fish and chips and a lovely play. Like what the world's left behind, you know. But half of them men in London, them fancy bloody suits on and the fancy shirts and all that, who long for this, really. They might make a lot of money, but the bloody stress of it all must be terrible.
What, with long for eating fish and chips with oily fingers?
They've never had such pleasure. Can you play piano, Jimmy?
I could play a bit.
Playing the piano in a pub is a thing I've always wanted to do. It's weird. Like my mum used to do it, and she always used to say, why don't you go and have piano lessons, you know? Never did. When my mum died, it was about bloody 10 quid for the piano, you know. That was right, beautiful thing, mum. He polished it every day, you know. Jeff, the chain maker, though, the speed which his hands work, it's really fast.
I think everywhere we've been's been interesting, hasn't it? Every single place.
Well, have you learned, Fred? Nothing. You knew it all before.
No, I have. I've learned bits of things, you know. I'm trying to think what I've learned and what I've
You all seem to be telling these other people how to do their jobs.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, I mean, the guy at the Severn Valley Railway didn't know about bananas, did he? I was just going to say, what are you laughing at? Bananas in boiler making are very important bits. If you put grease on it, it starts corrosion off, you know, and an old boiler maker, he said, job it all around the tube plate, and when you're banging it in, they don't pick up, you know, like it's as though you put grease on. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it worked. I mean, now, maybe Mr. Brunel, if he'd have known about bananas, he might have got the Great Eastern in the water.
Into the water quicker.
Yeah, you never know. Right. Copper was used in great abundance for the manufacturing of locomotives and all sorts of other types of steam engines. The high-pressure steam pipes are all made from copper, and the bearings and the fancy bits, you know, the nameplates and all such as that, are of course made from an alloy of copper and tin and lead mixed together, you know, non-ferrous metal for making such things.
And on the next stage of their grand tour, Fred and his team are going to see a mine where a lot of the copper for a traction engine like this would have come from. It means there's a long journey ahead as they travel from Dudley in the West Midlands right across North Wales to Amlwch on the Isle of Anglesey.
Before the Industrial Revolution, Wales was a rural country with a population of only 500,000. But slate quarrying and lead mining and copper mining transformed Wales into the great industrial nation that it became in the Victorian era. The Isle of Anglesey became famous because of the Paris Mountain, which at one time was the largest copper mine in all of the world.
But it's slow progress, so Rogers decided it's quicker to walk.
Now then.
Go on, go straight up, Fred.
Yeah, right, what we'll do now, I think if we take the van off, shove it down that hole there, we'll go exploring the mountains at light engine.
Just
you know,
with the engine?
Yeah, because we might end up
All
somewhere
right.
where we can't turn it round, you know. Any reckon you can chuck a car in there and it disintegrates?
Disintegrates?
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that down there. Yeah, we'll leave the engine here and go and have a look over the edge. That's a fur hole, isn't it? They've shifted a ton or two out of there, eh?
It's a bloody big hole there, isn't it?
Yeah.
See where an old tunnel there, looks of it.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, well, they've obviously open casted it.
Yeah. Well, I believe partly collapsed and partly open cast.
Well, sides have fell in.
Yeah, sides have fell in, yeah.
Yeah.
But all different colours.
Yeah, that's like a lunar landscape, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Let's go and see if we can find an engine. There's an engine house somewhere on this site. Seen it from down below, you know. Come on, we'll go and have a look. Come on, Roger. Yes.
Afternoon. Good afternoon.
You all right?
Hi, Fred. Nice to meet
Come
you.
to have a look at your pumping house.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest in Wales, this we believe.
Yeah. At least the masonry's still here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's holding down now. Since they did the work with the Welsh Mines Preservation Trust, it's really consolidated. It can't be deteriorating anymore now.
They left you the holding down bolts, didn't they?
That's right. It'd be nice to get the engine back again, but probably scrapped long ago, I suppose.
Made into knives and forks about 27 times, you know.
How long have they been mining on this site?
Well, if we're going back almost 4,000 years to start with,
as you know of,
as we know of, we've discovered stone tools, artefacts underground, and we've dated that from the timber and charcoal that we've found. And then the main start of the mining operations here, 1768, that's when the great discovery came about. And the story goes that March the 2nd, 1768, after 4 years of searching on the mountain.
6 weeks before they were due to give up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Lots of good tales about mining like that.
Yeah.
Just before they were giving up.
Then it became one of the biggest in the world, or the biggest in the world.
Right.
There's 85 shafts on the site.
Really?
3,000 people employed here. Amlwch was the biggest town in Wales at the time, and they had fires all over the mountain as they were smelting. And it was said
you
to
can
be
see all the red,
really,
red stuff everywhere.
The reds, that's the remains of the smelters.
Yeah.
It was very successful, and it was run by a man called Thomas Williams from the other side of Anglesey, who became a major entrepreneur in the early stages of the Industrial Revolution. And he not only mined here, he got the smelters as well, and when he'd smelted the copper, he made it into sheet, or he made it into blanks, and he delivered it to people who needed it. He ran a whole concern all the way from primary production to sale almost to the end user.
He became known as the Copper King, and this was his Copper Kingdom.
The copper from Parry's Mountain was made into sheets and would then go to a copper spinners like this. There are not many of them left now, but Fred found one when he was in the East Midlands a bit earlier on his grand tour.
Here we are. We've come to witness the ancient art of metal spinning that Mr. Hopkins is. In the olden days, you know, they used to make everything metal spun, like pots and pans and all that sort of thing, and lampshades and all, and here, like they do traction engine chimney top and cones for Spitfires. I bet there's not a great demand for them, really. Morning, Jeffrey.
Morning, Fred. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right, yeah.
Morning.
We've come to have a look at your wonderful metal spinning operation.
Oh, yes, yeah.
No, I've done a little bit of metal spinning myself. And I got this boot, do-it-yourself metal spinning. You know, and I got a pile of disasters. And in the end, I actually gave up and went seeing a proper metal spinner. And he made it look so easy, you know.
When we've learnt young lads, I think it's 3 to 5 years before they're proficient at doing most of the work that comes in. I mean, you know, OK, a few days on one particular job and you've learnt it, that's it, you know. But then the next job is another challenge, and the next job after that is another challenge. But say, at the moment, we've got an Evelyn top on, so if you want to come and have a look at him, he's going to start spinning it. We put soap on, put oil on, and then gently move the metal. You can't force the metal. It won't go. It just wrinkles up. You've literally got to move the metal along and sort of stroke it along. And it's got to be a fairly gentle action, because if you get too hard, you literally open the grain of the metal and tear through it.
Then it makes it look so easy.
Well, yes, he's made a lot of them, like, you know, over the years. You just get used to it.
Does he have to use a lot of pressure?
Yes. I think that's one of the difficulties. I think when you're learning, particularly on hot days and everything, you know, you really put some pressure on the side of your body. Just trimming the edge through, and any surplus metal, just trimming that off now.
Yeah, that's where I was going wrong when I was playing at it at home.
Good then.
It isn't hot at all. It just warms a little bit, gets a little bit of heat on it.
Done a lovely job, hasn't he? Done a good job there, mate.
Not short bottom off now.
Yeah, then we produce the top piece, and the two halves are literally joined together, and we roll one over the other. So that's that one. If you want to come and have a go on
Yeah,
one, we've got.
I'll have a bit of a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a smaller one than that
Yes,
one.
a bit smaller. Fred, on the steel tool, it'll make it a bit easier.
Yeah.
Bit of a start, that's him.
Yeah, right.
Hang on to the peg, Fred, hang on to the peg, that's him. That's off you go. Not too hard. Keep stroking it out.
Yeah, we're getting better.
You're getting better now, Fred. You're getting order for these at the rate we're going.
Good job it's not a candlestick. Candle will be like that.
And we'll just put a bit of soap on, and we'll take that edge over now. If you want to move down another, that's him. I'll just take the edge over now. That's it, job done.
Who can we give that to?
And that's it.
Right, you got the chimney, now we got to go home and make the rest of the engine.
Yeah. Right, it's tea time, we should have mastered it.
That's a good one.
We'll have a go in shed when we get home, really.
That's lovely, that, isn't it?
Right.
First class, that, Fred.
I do like that.
Knock us a set of candlesticks up.
Yeah, all right.
And there it is, finely spun copper. The engine is full of shining copper and brasswork, all made in this way and all mined from places like Parry's Mountain. Back in Anglesey, it's time for a chat about the mining.
Right, Fred, these are the photographs I was talking about earlier when we were up on the mine.
Yeah.
Just a few here. Brian, my colleague here, has got a terrific number of photographs and has really spent years and years researching up there. So this just shows you the main drainage mine level that we've got.
Some first stalactites and stalagmites in there.
That's right, yeah. These ladders that we use in underground are the original ladders from around about 1840, and they're still in good nick.
You can still climb up
because of this water.
Yeah, we use those every night we go down. We'll be going down tonight to use the same ladders.
It's amazing when you think of these miners walking 2 miles to the mine and going down almost 1,000 feet, you know, doing 8-hour day, then coming up again 1,000 feet and then back home.
Thinking about it, does it?
And then working a small holding, perhaps, or going fishing. Well, the ladies there, the couple ladies, they worked a 12-hour day. You know, sort of kneeling in front of a knockstone, breaking the ore.
Well, Alf was saying he's been a coal miner, and out of all the mining activity he's seen, he'd still prefer to be a coal miner. It was an easier job than any of these lads.
Yeah. It was preferable to be working where you could see roof just above your head than looking up from one of them levels and you can't see nothing. It's so high, you know, which is a bit frightening, that. To me, anyway.
You don't know what's going to come flying out of the sky, do
only
you?
a little bit falling a long way.
Well, they had men on big ladders, didn't they, with hammers, you know.
Well, that's the other thing, looking up in the sky. One place I went in, there was 40-foot ladders still in there, with planks strung across. And they'd be working on them with drilling machines, hammers, and you name it. So, no, I prefer coal mining every day.
Yeah, it's a bit more time in getting squashed.
Michael Faraday came there, because most of the intelligentsia, I suppose, came to Amlot to have a look at the mines. And he was taken underground, and they had him kitted out in flannel clothes to absorb the sweat and the wet. Because going down the shafts, well, the pumps were going, they were all leaking. So he'd been sprayed, every fathom down. And anyway, he got into one of the great stopes, and he could see these little lights sort of flickering like little fairies everywhere, you know. And anyway, he sat down, he was given a barrel to sit on, and he plonked his candle down on this, and he realised it was a gunpowder barrel. So, you know, the miners didn't seem to care a great deal.
Would have been a quick way up out of the mine.
Oh, it wouldn't have shot out like a cannon.
What really fascinated me were the bloody beautiful colours of all the top of the hill, like, you know, bloody orange, purple, yellow, red, every colour you can think of, all really lovely.
The lady comes from Greece every year, and she collects all these samples of the colours and takes them back and paints with them.
Yeah.
She just grinds them up and uses them as a paint medium.
Time to go there's setting sun just after rain.
Yeah.
Ah, colours so vivid,
I should
beautiful.
imagine.
As well as copper, North Wales was also the centre of the slate industry. From Anglesey, Fred is heading for the Welsh Slate Museum at Llanberis to see the workshops there. But first he's got to find somewhere to park the engine, so he's making a little detour to the Festiniog Railway, which was built to transport slate from Festiniog to the sea at Portmadoc.
Looking well today, Jack. All right. This is a nice one, isn't it? 1891. Cool down.
Hello, Fred. Welcome to the Festiniog Railway.
Hello. How are you, mate? All right.
Very well, yes, very well.
Yeah. I wonder how much of the engine is like original.
Well, that's always an interesting question, isn't it? We think the boiler is.
Yeah.
We think that's 113 years old.
Yeah.
Don't know. Does that make it the oldest one in Britain, do you reckon?
I reckon it's getting a bit that way, yeah. No doubt it'll have had a bit of treatment, like, but it's most of it boiler barrel, I mean, original maybe.
Well, this ended up in Surrey in the late 1960s. Some chap bought it, a guy called Bernard Latham, and he took it and put it in his back garden in Surrey.
Yeah.
And goodness knows what the neighbours thought.
Yeah.
He brought it here in the early 90s, and since then we've been looking after it.
I bet it never thought it'd end up back in its old hunting grounds.
Yeah, and moving slate wagons around as well. Yeah.
Them are interesting in themselves, aren't they? I mean, when you think that thousands and thousands of tons of slates that them have moved to the rooftops of the world.
Well, I'll tell you what, Fred, would you like to come with us down to our works and have a look at where we restore them?
It would be a pleasure.
Right, on your pop.
Well, it runs nice, doesn't it? Nice and sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad. The wheel profile, the profiles of the wheels are starting to get a bit old and worn, so we'll need to have a go at that this winter as well. This is one which is...
Oh, yeah. And the new offspring.
Yeah, he's only 3 weeks old.
Whoa! Hello!
Having fun?
Oh, yeah. Easier than working this, messing about, you know.
See you later. Right then, Fred, I've got the token.
Right, what shall I do with this?
Well, as long as we don't lose it, we're on. It doesn't roll very well, even though we're going downhill. The bearings need a bit of a sort out.
How many miles long is your railway?
13.5 miles,
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
It's a fair run. It takes a good hour to do it each way. Just coming down now towards the 1 mile long embankment right across the estuary.
Is that a new bit, or is it the...
No, that was built in 1836. It's how the railway started, was transporting stuff across there. What it did, it cut the sea off from the land behind it, and it's created more farming land.
Yeah.
So in a place like North Wales where farming land's at a premium, then this it made the chap who built it quite a bit of money. You can see there the old cliffs over there, and they've got trees growing on them now.
Now we're coming to a tunnel.
This is a replacement bridge that was built in the 1960s, this one. Thanks, Bob.
The Festiniog Railway was an industrial railway built to transport slate. Today, it's a tourist attraction carrying holidaymakers through the Snowdonia National Park. And the restoration and maintenance of the engines is done here at the Boston Lodge Works.
Of course, this is one of the Festiniog Railway's single fairly locomotives.
So,
yeah, like half of one, like.
Yeah, it's half of one. You can see the bogie there that swings on the front
yeah.
is powered, and the one at the back is unpowered. It's very smooth engine, very smooth riding. It was built in the 1870s, and by 1930 it was completely worn out, and they scrapped it. So all that was left was the chimney and the reversing lever.
And you started from that?
Started from that. This is our newest engine, but round the corner here is Prince, which is the oldest working steam engine in the world. It dates back to 1863. And when the railway closed in 1946, there was a new boiler for this one in the workshops. So when the revivalists came along to reopen the line, here was a new boiler just waiting to go. So this was the first engine running. Because of that, it has a very special place in Festiniog Railway history. Last year we were opening a new section of our Welsh Highland Railway from Winevower up to Ridvey on the south side of Snowdon, and we took this engine over there to open that new section. And Prince Charles came along and actually drove this engine and made his day having a bit of a drive with it.
Royal connections, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now there's some work to be done, and a chance for Fred to do some driving.
So then, Fred, we said it was all about moving slate about, and here you are, an authentic Festiniog Railway slate train. It's all yours, Fred.
Are the wagons full?
Hi, they are. Now you've got a speedometer up there, Fred. Anywhere between 10 and 15. It's like modern luxury, eh? A speedometer. Well, I don't know about you, Fred, but I reckon that's one of the finest views you can get from a footplate.
Beautiful, Like Lawrence of Arabia, you know, running. You have to slow down at the bend or just leave it.
Well, it's a 15-mile-an-hour limit on the bend, so and we're only doing 14, so we're fine. Now, whenever you see a W sign, you know what to do, don't you?
No.
Blow the whistle.
All right.
You can see a red light, but we're just going onto a track circuit. When that detects us, it will set the station up for us and it'll give us a green light. So it should change at any minute.
And having pulled a train load of slate, Fred's now going to see where it was quarried. He's heading for the Welsh Slate Museum at Llanberis to see the engineering workshops there. And as his grand tour nears an end, he's going to stop off at the Anderton boat lift on his way back to a place near Bolton where the nuts and bolts for his engine were made. Fred Dibnah is on the final stage of his grand tour of Britain's industrial past. He's in the mountains of Snowdonia in North Wales with his steersman, Alf Molyneux, and his sons, Jack and Roger. They're on their way to see a Victorian workshop. The kind of place where an engine like Fred's would have been built. To get there, they have to cross the Llanberis Pass in Snowdonia. It's a big test for the engine, but it's performing well. After a hard climb, they've reached the top of the pass, but they've used a lot of water. It's time to fill the tanks. But up in the mountains, fire hydrants are hard to come by. The only place they can get water is from a tap in the cafe up here. But even then, there's still a problem.
We haven't got an hosepipe long enough. And then the taps are then, you have to keep your thumb on all the time. But keep them running, you know, water must be desperate on top of this mountain.
With no hosepipe, they've got to use buckets and anything else they can lay their hands on to get the water from the cafe. And that means a lot of buckets to fill a 160-gallon tank.
How far off top of it?
We're nearly there now.
Yeah, Rog. Is it in gear? Yeah. Wait a minute then, hang on. Oh, looks like it's going to rain, doesn't it?
I'm not long over.
Eh?
I've driven it on my own now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how you've bashed my engine about him. Nearly.
We better put 11 in because
Who's in the coop?
Yeah.
With the tank full, it's time to get the dinner ready. And they're going to cook it in the old traction engine men's way, while Fred keeps the fans happy.
With more potatoes than we've got tin foil for.
Let's see what it turns out like with a big hole on the side.
No, that, because with more potatoes than with tin foil.
Sorry about the oily finger marks, you know, make it more authentic.
You can do baked beans on the cylinder block, spaghetti rings on the cylinder block, eggs and bacon on the shovel, roast lamb, spare ribs. I've never tried toast, but we could.
Alf's early problems with steering the engine are long gone. And now, after nearly 3 months on the road, he's a very proficient steersman.
Stood up there in Skye, driving their engine, steering it anyway. It was just such a wonderful experience. I'd have never got that experience without Fred. Never. Is the club open?
As ever, it's been hot, thirsty work driving down the pass, and Fred's in need of some liquid refreshment.
Eh? I mean, you'd think, you know, what time of the licensing hours in Wales, you know?
I thought they were any time now.
Yeah, well, some people,
they
do that well at weekend, they won't bother opening during
We've had glasses on, I'll be able to tell you the time.
14 minutes past 1.
Right, 14 minutes past 1.
Oh, might as well press on, yeah.
Right, we're going.
I'm ready.
Are you all right? Break off on the trailer, Jack. Speed limit up here, we can open it up a bit.
Now that the engine has been running, it'll do 15 miles an hour with ease.
It's in top gear, it goes very fast. You should never try and change gear on a hill. I mean, you read all sorts of horrific stories about these super-duper men in the old days being able to change gear on the run. I don't think I fancy trying that. Maybe on level it's not so bad, but on any hills, you know, that's a bit fatal, I think.
Slate has been quarried from these mountains for over 1,800 years, but it was with the coming of the Industrial Revolution that the Welsh slate industry really took off. Fred and his team are on their way to the Welsh Slate Museum down at the bottom of the pass. But before they get there, those potatoes need looking at.
Just try the... Is it hot? Don't feel. That's done, that. Feels like it's done. They feel good.
Get all the carbon off and it'll be right.
They're too hot.
You want a knife and fork then to cut them open?
Yeah.
Set of teeth will be alright.
We went up road, but it was shut.
There you go.
I don't need...
Do you want some salt? And a plate?
Good inside. Good inside.
Not bad, actually. Wow.
That'll do till tea time, after they've been to the Slate Museum.
North Wales has been mined for both coal and copper, but really it's the slate industry that dominates the region. This is the Slate Museum at Llanberis, and it's based in the workshops of the old Dinorwig quarry. And in my opinion, it's the finest Victorian workshop in the whole of Great Britain.
These workshops catered for all the repair and maintenance work of the quarry, which at its height employed over 3,000 men. All the power came from this huge water wheel built by the De Winton Company in Caernarfon, and the whole site was so big that it had its own railway. Last time Fred came here, he had a go at dressing the slate, but on this trip, it's the workshops he's interested in.
Yeah, I've been in here before. It's very interesting, you know, all sorts of interesting stuff. I mean, that for a lathe.
Oh, I bet you could do some on that.
It's a fur, isn't it? All the machinery in this mechanic shop is driven by this line shaft, which is 1/8 of a mile long, and all driven from the water wheel at the other end. And of course, it's the type of workshop that my traction engine will be manufactured in.
Good size of that one.
That's for turning wheels. It's like a wheel lathe. You know the ones in railway workshop where we went?
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing, but you only do one side at once, as you might say.
Yeah.
Really, it will be wonderful to be let loose in here with about 60 ton of iron plates of different thicknesses and about 50 ton of coke, a few 45-gallon drums full of oil, and there would be no bloody end to what you could make in a workshop like this, because there's a machine tool of every description that you could ever wish to have. Yeah, the picture is a bit too big for our shed, though.
Yeah.
Well, most of this stuff in here, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, look at that. Even in the olden days, no smoking. You thought they've all been going with the pipes, wouldn't you, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, in 1870s, you know, in here it'd be like Bedlam, you know, them forges in there. It'd all be roaring away from dawn till dusk, sharpening all the chisels and all the tools and the drills for them thousands of men up the mountain. Yeah, look at this, a shaper. It's a double-ended one, isn't it? You can do how you want with this.
What would you make for the engine on this machine?
Well, on our one, same thing at home. We've made the valve chest covers. When we were doing the boiler, and we had to make that piece with a slant on it. You know, we're playing the slant on it with the shaper. Made about 1870 or something like that. A squirt or two of oil on there and, you know, put the belt back on, which is not here no more, and it will be away.
At its height, Wales was producing nearly 500,000 tonnes of slate a year, 4/5 of all British slate. But this level of production came at a price. Slate quarrying was a very dangerous occupation, and in one quarry alone, 363 men were killed in accidents in just 150 years. Many thousands more were injured. Dinorwig Quarry closed in 1969. But some of the workers still live around Llanberis, and when Fred and Alf were down at the local pub, they met two of them.
Yeah.
Hello, gents.
How do you do?
How are you?
I
saw you steaming down.
Hello there.
This morning.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Whereabouts were you going?
We went to the museum workshop, you know,
Oh, that's
which is
interesting.
which is
How did you find
a
it?
lovely
Right?
place.
That's where I served my time.
well,
Started in 1953, in fact, yeah. When the quarry was, you know, going. And
there must have been a lot of opportunity for fitting and mending things.
Absolutely, you're telling me. Because I remember blacksmiths there, you know, 6 of them working flat out. It's nice to see them still there, isn't it? Being kept, you know, for people to see. And the anvils as well.
The fires would hardly go out, would they?
It's a true story about chaps from Carnarvon working at the quarry. What they used to do then, somebody came looking for a job, they had to knock on the door of the manager's office, and when you said come in, they used to take their caps off.
Oh, yes, you had to take
showing respect to the manager. Well, this chap from Carnarvon came in,
Yeah.
came there to look for a job, and he knocked the door, and the manager said, come in, and he walked in with his cap still on his head. He said, do you know what you're supposed to do when you walk into the manager's office? You take your cap off. I'm coming here for a job, not for a bloody haircut, he said.
That's a good, isn't it? Yeah, the workshop's something, isn't it? I mean, they have nearly... You could really make a locomotive in there.
Oh, absolutely, with the big blades.
They've got their own foundry, their own bloody millers and shapers and everything you could want.
I never knew anything about foundry work. This chap came down from Scotland and he'd been a foundryman in Coatesbridge. And he showed me all the ropes about casting brass.
Oh, yeah.
I was lucky. That was the first day that I started.
Way. Well, we've discussed this on this trip about learning how to books and things like that.
You can.
You can get a book, you're right, you can get a book written by an academic who's never done anything in his bloody life. And you, I mean, okay, he's a clever bloke, he can write it all down.
Yes.
But it don't really give you the final bit of how to do it.
No, that's
like having an old man stood at the side of you saying you're making a bugger of that is the best way to learn. Like making the boiler on my traction engine. Now, we're very fortunate because there were a lot of old men who were left over from Horwich Local Works. And they would all outdo how to work, smoking themselves to death and all that. Like. I'm glad I met them men, like, you know, else we'd have been in dire straits.
Unfortunately, they're all leaving us, aren't they? You know, there's no apprenticeships today.
They're just having a bit of a rethink now.
Are they? Yeah.
We're in Birmingham University till the day getting an honorary degree, and the Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor, and they're all sat there in the gold braid, and I got a funny hat on, you know,
I saw that in the paper,
and they were all Chinamen, and 7/8 of them were girls as well, young lasses, you know. All with a degree in engineering.
Yes.
So what's going to happen to us? We'll be shopkeepers and tourist attraction in a bit.
Yeah, that's it.
Going that road, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny how we're getting old, Quill, and the old memories.
Cares about anything now.
They've been on the road now for nearly 3 months, and Alf's thoughts are turning to home.
Well, it'd be nice to get home and see how Mrs. is coping. It wasn't work. It was an enjoyable holiday and a one-off lifetime experience. Traction engines, they're just such amazing machines, a lovely sight. You've got to take your hat off to people as keep on going, keep them on the road.
But on the way home, they're passing one of the greatest Victorian wonders of Britain's waterways.
On our way back to Bolton, we're going to stop off at the world's first boat lift. The Anderton boat lift was built in 1875 and taken out of use in 1983, and then it was extensively restored and in 2002 reopened to the public.
The boat lift is a black and white Victorian iron masterpiece with a checkered history. It was built as an alternative to a series of locks to bridge the 51-foot height difference between canal and river. The initial plan to build a flight of locks was abandoned due to a lack of space and the amount of water that would have been lost from the canal into the river.
The lift was built to solve the expensive problem of getting goods from the River Weaver navigation up to the Trent and Mersey Canal. The goods mainly were pottery from Staffordshire and salt from Cheshire going back the other way. Changes in the design took it over budget by as much as £50,000. Really, you know, I think they did quite well getting it up in 30 months. I'm now going off to see Tim and Harry, who are going to give me a ride on the thing. Aye, good afternoon, Tim.
Hi, how you doing, Fred?
I'm all right, mate.
Nice to see you.
Are you going to give me a ride on your boat?
Yeah, if you'd like to come aboard the Storyteller, we'll set sail.
Aye.
Well, here it is, Anderton boat lift.
Yeah.
The lift has 2 caissons, and each caisson can accommodate 2 narrowboats.
What we're doing at the moment is actually in the aqueduct, which was built in 1875. When we were doing the refurbishment, we had to do a lot of calculations to work out how strong these girders were. Victorian engineers were good, but they weren't quite that good.
Oh, no, that, They generally sometimes overdid it, and sometimes didn't overdo it. Yeah. Oh, here we are.
We've had to add safety features like the buffer, just in case anybody were to go into the gate.
Over-enthusiastic,
You'll see from the photographs how they built this 1908 structure. They had small derrick cranes, steam-driven ones on trestles.
It's like for any bridge building were quite fantastic, really, weren't it? How they did it. The amount of men that died,
right.
There were generally 5 or 6 on every project.
The large A-frames and upper gear deck were added to the structure when the lift was converted to electric in 1908, after corrosion damaged the original hydraulic mechanism beyond repair. The lift was sympathetically restored to hydraulic operation in 2002 after an extensive £7 million overhaul.
We took the main A-frames off as one piece, like giant Meccano, really. Carry the machine.
Actually took the whole thing down?
Yes.
And then re-erected it?
Re-erected it about a year later, once everything had been refurbished.
When the caisson's like full of water, like how heavy is it?
But a caisson full of water weighs 250 tonnes. Both caissons are balanced at the moment, and all we do is transfer the oil from one piston to another.
Here we are.
River level.
So right now we can sail away to Liverpool.
It's been a long trip, but the end is now in sight.
Me and Fred work well together. Fred's very easy to get on with. He'd all this hanging over him with a terminal illness, but he insisted on keeping going. He intended keeping going. He was determined to get round to as many people as possible. He's given as much and he's getting as much back. You go past the school, there's kids run to railways, teachers and all, they were just as bad. It's just a wonderful feeling when you're on the engine and everybody's waving to you. Every time we stopped, people would descend on us. The joy on their faces, all the snapping they did all over the place. They just loved Fred. It was just a fantastic opportunity to get round to places where I would never have got to. Some lovely memories, stood up near furnaces. If I hadn't known Fred, I'd have never got on that steam launch on Coniston. I can sit back at chair and close my eyes and drive down Lamberris Pass with Fred. And on the engine, like going over at Forth Bridge, the only steam vehicle to go over under its own power. Them are the real highlights.
But before they go home, there are another couple of places to visit, because it was around here that some of the most important parts of Fred's engine were made. As they've driven the engine around, they've always had to know what the steam pressure was and how much water they had in the tank. If the pressure had got too high or the water level had got too low, the consequences would have been disastrous. So the pressure and water gauges are absolutely vital.
I've had a few pressure gauges from Budenberg's in Manchester. They make everything, all the works inside, the body of the thing. The only thing they don't do is the glass window in the front. In its heyday, the company employed over 500 people, but now they're down to just 60 odd workers.
The Victorian workshops where this sort of specialist work used to be done no longer exists, but the skills are still there, even if the work is now done in a modern industrial unit.
Just at the outbreak of war.
That was one of the old gauges we made. All the movements were handmade.
No, it's a bit like clockmaking, isn't it?
It certainly is, yes.
Yeah.
And basically, the principle hasn't changed
No,
from the early
basically
days
the same
of
principle, isn't it?
1850s, 1860s.
Yeah.
Steam pressure gauges are still handmade at Budenberg's, as they have been for over 150 years, under a patented design filed by them in 1849.
The pressure gauge consists of an oval tube that's been bent into a circle, and the steam is offered into one end of the tube, which thereupon it tries to straighten out the tube. And on the other end, which is blanked off, there's a linkage that goes to a needle and tells you how many pounds per square inch of steam there is in the boiler. Yeah, one day, about, God, it must be about 15 years since or something like that, we stopped for lunch somewhere near Knutsford or somewhere that road on in Cheshire, like, and this pub. And this guy come in with a yellow silk scarf cravat with red spots on, the big tash, and he said, I see I've not got one of our gauges on your machine. And I said, who are you, Mr. Budenberg? And he says, as a matter of fact, yeah, he says. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, mate, at home I've got one, a lovely one, where I said it's really badly damaged. And he said, you bloody chaps all the same, you want it for nothing, I suppose. And then, you know, we had a pint and bid him good day, but he said, I'll send a man and give it him. He took it away, and it came back, and it was like brand new, all shined up, new glass, new everything.
Back on the edge of Bolton, they've one more visit to make. Some of the most important parts of the engine are the smallest, like the nuts and bolts that hold it together. And this is where Fred got the nuts and bolts for his engine.
Thomas Smith's, or Smith & Bullough as it's now known, is one of the old-time nut and bolt workses, which produce about 800 bolts a day.
One of the problems that steam enthusiasts have is that it's difficult to get the right nuts and bolts for their engines because everything is metric now. The beauty of this workshop is that they still make the old-style imperial thread sizes that a traction engine like Fred's needs.
They don't look anybody about, so I ring bell for attention.
No, you don't need to do that. I know them all in here. They're all nice lads, you know.
Oh,
I know
I'll
the
follow
way.
you then.
I know the way upstairs.
Go on then.
Oh, hello, chaps. How are you doing?
Hello, Fred. Yeah, fine.
Is it all right if I show the BBC where all my nuts and bolts come from? They're all my traction engine together.
Yeah, no problem at all.
You know, we'll not fall in any nuts and bolt machines or out like that.
No problem at all.
Yeah, is that okay then?
Yeah.
Smith & Bullough's Nut and Bolt Works is one of the few companies in all of Great Britain that specialise in making one-offs, great big bolts with funny threads and sort of big square heads and any fancy shapes you want. Whitworth is a word that's practically non-existent now, but you can get Whitworth nuts and bolts here. And I've come today to make a special bolt for my traction engine. Anyone?
Manchester, Sir Joseph Whitworth perfected the standardisation of screw threads, so everybody could make nuts and bolts that were all practically the same. Up until the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, threads and bolts and nuts had been individually made. I've actually worked on machinery where each nut was made to fit the bolt. And when you screwed them on, they waddled about as they went down until they actually landed on the face that they were intended to go on. Whitworth realised that if all engineers could use the same machinery for making threads and measuring, mass production would be immediately possible. By 1860, all his measuring equipment and his standardised threads were accepted throughout Great Britain.
Where are we going now?
I think we're going to the stores.
Size of them, Fred.
Oh, them are nice, aren't they? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Made in Holland. Magic. Now then, John.
Nah, Fred, what can we do for this time?
Oh, scrounging again.
Scrounging again, it must be
With our
someone.
tractor.
Do you fancy a cup of our?
Oh, yeah, we'll have a brew while we're
We'll
talking.
sort some of that.
We used all them 1.5", 5/8 set screws for all the tyres on the tractor. We had the back wheels in the back kitchen and it were 3 inches deep in swarf drilling out holes and putting threads down the holes for them screwing. Well, I'm pleased to say none of them have come loose, you know, and it's had a beating. I was polishing round them only last night. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, my tractor's more or less held together by Mr. Smith's nuts and bolts. I can't remember whether I paid for them or whether they given me.
I think it were 3 postcards we got for that with your picture on a postcard. That's what it cost you.
I forgot about that.
Some history in here, you know. Nah. So we keep managing keep going.
Oh, but you're still here, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
We're going to have a look at thread cutting shop.
Yeah, mind the horse pipe. You just squat all up my leg. Yeah, we'll see if we'll put some threads on the end of here for us. Hiya, Tony. How you doing?
And can't no see.
Put some threads on here for us.
Do you want to put the thread on it?
No.
Underneath, it's easier.
Yeah.
You can get it balanced better.
Does it stop automatically?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like a lathe. Yeah. That's the tricky bit, isn't it? Hitting it in the middle.
Hitting it in the middle, yeah. Yeah. Good as me.
Few weeks practice.
Few weeks practice.
Yeah.
Fred has come to the end of his grand tour, and there couldn't be a more appropriate place for him to finish up than here. Because as places like this modernised, they had to do away with the old technology, like the line shafting that once drove all the machines here.
I remember coming by here about 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
And they were all lying in yard, weren't they? And they said, well, you can have whatever you want.
But Fred was able to provide a good home for it.
Yeah, it's all going round, you know.
Yeah.
Drives 18 pieces of machinery in my yard.
From Smith Buller, it's just a short drive through Bolton to get back to Fred's garden. Since they left here 3 months ago, Fred and Alf have travelled over 1,000 miles, and the engine has had a really good road test. But there's now a bit of fine-tuning needed before Fred can set off on his most important trip. He's going to complete his grand tour of Britain by driving down to Buckingham Palace on his engine to receive his MBE from the Queen. Next week, we'll follow Fred down to London on the engine as he visits some famous sites on his way to Buckingham Palace. And we'll accompany him as he goes to receive his MBE.
I've been restoring this traction engine for 27 years, and I've really fulfilled the dream now of actually touring the country, driving it all over the show and meeting interesting people. But I've one more long journey to make, all the way to London, to meet the Queen and receive an MBE for services to industrial heritage and broadcasting. On my way to London, we've stopped off at the Great Central Railway. which is one of the best preserved railways because it's got a double track like proper railways did have. Most preserved railways are single line affairs, which were once branch lines, but this is proper main line affair. Yeah, in the great days of steam railways, there were like 2 routes up England, you know, one up the west coast and one up the east coast. But in 1893, the Great Central put one up the middle.
Yeah.
And I think it was something like 1899 they got from London to Leicester. And of course now it's the only main line railway that has real steam engines on it.
And I
on
believe
2
there are
tracks.
20 here under preservation,
Yeah.
haven't there?
And here we are at the locomotive.
Hello,
This is
Fred.
Fred, the
Nice to
driver.
meet you. 2 Freds, eh?
I won't be coming with you.
All right. Well, let's look after him.
Go and have a look how they're going on with reverse to traction engine fire all door.
Right.
So I'll leave Fred with you.
Yes, he'll be in
Sorry
safe
about
hands.
this.
I know, I can see you.
Right,
we'll
we're late,
yeah,
aren't we? We
we
better
are,
get
we are
rolling.
late, yeah. Right.
Bloody hell. You had a
Okay,
big
no.
beer belly, you'd never get through though, would
You
you?
wouldn't.
This 04 class locomotive is one of only 2 surviving engines from the original Great Central Railway. Built in 1912, it was restored here at the railway and now forms part of the National Collection. For Fred, riding on the footplate of a steam locomotive like this has never lost its magic. But for Alf, there's always something to do back on Fred's engine.
How you going on with it, Jack?
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, you've got it on.
Yes.
Is it working all right? Opening all right?
Yeah.
You're happy with it? So your next trip will be down to London to see Her Majesty the Queen.
Yes.
Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah?
Yeah, go on. Nervous? No. Is your dad nervous, you reckon?
Probably.
A bit, yeah.
He's acting different, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah. He's not been saying a lot, which is very unusual.
That's because we'll not let him go in with black cap on.
Yeah. I wonder what it's like inside Buckingham Palace.
I will imagine it's very beautiful.
I wonder if you'd be going, tea, Alfred? Cup of tea?
Yeah, that's it. I think he's letting Jack have a steer around in London. Yeah, I'll let you go first, Jack.
Well, you're
Or
not
it's going to be a bit dodgy with all this traffic.
That squeaky noise, that reminds me of my youth, that. Thank you. Good help. That was bad, didn't we? How many tons have we got behind with the carriages?
234
Yeah. And I reckon we didn't burn much above 500 or 600 weight, did we? I wonder how much diesel fuel it would take for to move same weight.
How far is it, Alf, from here to London?
I've no idea, to be honest.
Oh, quite a long drive.
Oh, it's be a fair way from here.
See you, mate. Ta-ra. Now. Right, now then, Graham.
Did you like that?
I did indeed. All right, we're all right.
Right, we're going to have a look
around
at
the
Craig,
engine
yes.
shed. Yeah.
And this is where the engine was restored.
I'll introduce you to Fred Dibnah.
Right,
Fred's
how
just
did
been
it-
out on the 04, and Craig's the man who rebuilt that engine from
Yeah.
a pile of bits.
Yeah, I've heard.
And
yeah.
Craig served his apprenticeship with us. He's learned more about steam while he's been working with us than anybody else here.
A good thing for a young man, that, isn't it?
It's
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah.
to see young men like this
Yeah,
coming through.
yeah.
I'll leave you two to chat, and
Yeah.
I'll
Thank
see you later.
Yeah, all right,
okay,
mate.
thanks.
Yeah, we've just had a good run down the line with an engine driver called Fred on.
All right, yeah.
On one that you've done up, haven't
Yeah,
you?
did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Well, basically, it took me 3 years to
Yeah,
complete
I bet
it.
it was, yeah,
I had to
yeah.
strip it all down and
Yeah.
take it all totally to bits.
What a pleasurable thing to do over a period of 3 years.
Well, it
Pull the
was, yeah.
locomotive bits and put it back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about the boiler?
Basically, the boiler, basically a full retube, a few stays here and there.
Yeah,
But apart from that, it was
All
as
right.
good as was
Oh,
when it came out of the
1912
works.
it was made, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, did you have much like with the bearings and all that part of it? Like?
All the bearings were replaced, the coupling rod bearings.
Were they wrong with journals like, and were they all nice and smooth?
They were fairly smooth, but we had them, had them skimmed, just to
skimming off,
get them back to new.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about my tractor. I don't know what I made the front bearings out of, but there's a very weak solution of gold paint coming out with the oil, you know.
Yeah.
Something wrong somewhere, you know. You've got to be careful, haven't you, when you're getting things out at scrapyard.
You are, definitely.
Yeah. Hello, mate, how are you doing?
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah, well, it's all looking well. Did you manage to get fire all door on?
He's done a good job, Jack has, with that fire all door. It's perfect. It's a good job.
I've been having a whale of a time steaming up and down on all these nice engines.
We know.
I'm having a Guinness. Where's my chair? I need a sit down. Hey, it's nice and peaceful here, isn't it, Rog? Huh?
Yeah.
Reminds me of when I was little and I used to go and sneak onto railway sheds in Bolton that have all gone now, you know. Yuppie houses all over it now. Yeah, we're really good. Happy days. And here we are, sat here, miles away from home in Loughborough, in a nice, interesting place, eh? Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a pub, you've seen it, on Manchester Road called the Wagon and Horses.
Oh yeah, I know it.
And it had an iron ladder out of the sidings down into the backyard at pub. And I'm not kidding, it was as shiny as that regulator handle on that engine down there with the usage that it had. And all day long it was full of railway men either going on duty or coming off duty. And on a Saturday night and a Friday night it was chock bloody full. You couldn't get a pint, and on the big bridge over at Main Road, it'd be like a black five with 40 wagons of coal blowing its head off into the sky, and driver and fireman in the pub would just have another before we set off. And then when they got up the ladder and on the engine, you know, blasting on the whistle and away they went and all. They don't get arrested nowadays for behaviour like that. That lamp I've got at home on mantelpiece, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, Manchester, Victoria. This guy, he were a shunter, you know, man with a stick with a hook on the end. And he were in the pub this night, drunk as a rat with that on the back of his head, you know, like Will A in that film, Oh, Mr. Porter. Drunk as a rat, like, you know, and I says, what are you going to do with your lamp? And he says, buy us a pint and you can have the bloody thing, you know, and he gave it. I bought him a pint and he gave it me. Yeah, he'll be gone and all now. But I've still got the lamp. It'll be yours someday.
Is that the one above in the mantelpiece in the parlour?
Yeah, in the parlour at home, yeah.
And there's the ones above the lathe.
Yeah, the ones in the shed you at Winterbottom got me them for steamroll. They were brand new, them square ones. Can have them as well.
With the engine all polished and gleaming, it's time to head off for London and Fred's appointment at the Palace.
I'm enjoying this trip, Lou. Very tiring, but good fun, eh?
But on the way, there's another little detour.
Well, now then. Yeah, while we're here on the edges of London, somewhere near here, there's the Cross-Nest pumping station with 4 great big beam engines in that have been here since 1860, which I think we should go and have a look at them. They're quite splendid. I think the finest Victorian cast iron work in all of London.
The Cross-Nest engines are on the River Thames near Abbey Wood in southeast London. So it's been quite a detour for Fred and his team. But he's wanted to see these engines for a long time, and he knows this may be his last chance.
Here we are. Right, disembark.
Put the brake on, Roger.
Aye.
Get in here, Fred, have a warm. Walk with
out, isn't it? Well, we're here. This is it, you know, isn't it? Built in 1865 when the River Thames were full of pollution and all the water supply were bad news. Mr. Joseph Basil Jett got the job of cleaning it all up, and he built 85 miles of sewers to clean up London, and then, of course, 3 pumping stations, I believe, to you know, help out when it started going up Brew. This is the remains of you know, the last one.
The last one.
We'd still got the engines in, you know, like all the others. Some of them are there, but there's no engines.
And I believe this is the biggest pumping engine, well, the beam engine in the world, isn't it?
Well, it's supposed to be, yeah. We'll go and have a look at it,
Yeah.
Come on, boys. We'll go and have a look.
Okay, come on,
Yeah. Yeah, while El's fettling the engine, I'll show you these brilliant steam engines, these 4 biggest beam engines in England, or maybe even in the world, built by James Watt. Originally, they had 12 Cornish boilers that burned 5,000 tonnes of coal every year to make them all go, you know, provide the steam and pump the raw sewage of London down into the River Thames. By 1920 odd, it were all over with, you know, they were derelict, finished, redundant, and they were heavily vandalised. Really, but for these fine people here who restored it, it would have gone, it would have disappeared forever. And really, how can you destroy something as magic and beautiful as this? How did it?
Welcome, Fred.
Come to have a look at your beautiful engine.
Lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, a quarter of it. How long does it take to do this bit like?
About 18 years to do this.
Yeah,
But these are all original parts, polished up by elbow grease.
Oh, this cast iron works beautiful, isn't it?
Come and have a look at the rest of the engine. And there you see the crossheads going up and down.
Oh, yeah. And Mr. Watt's famous parallel link motion.
I think the fascinating thing about it all is to see that mass of the crosshead coming down and stopping just that much.
It's about 5/8 of an inch off, isn't it?
It's not much more than that.
I wonder when they put it up at first, if they had any fun. You know, we better take another quarter of an inch off here, like.
Is this the top end of the valve gate?
Yes, this is the inlet valve, and that's the exhaust valve. And the inlet valve has this trip mechanism, and what that does, it trips the valve shut at a certain position on the stroke.
Yeah, about a 7-foot stroke.
9 foot.
9 foot?
9 foot,
yeah. Well, we go up to the...
up to the beam floor.
Yeah, the main spindle.
Oh, there we are, Fred. There's the beam. 42 foot long, and weighing all of
50 tonnes.
Yeah, which is an awful lot.
Makes you wonder how they got that from Birmingham, doesn't it?
These are the counterbalance weights.
Yeah, that were put on after it had been compacted.
Yeah, to compensate for the weight of the additional cylinders. The beam was cast in Birmingham.
Oh, he did that. Benjamin Goodfellow.
Benjamin Goodfellow of Hyde, yes.
That's not so far from Holy One.
Unfortunately, they're no longer in business.
Oh, no, none of them are. They're all gone.
But we've managed to get the drawings with the Manchester Museum. What we've tried to do with the whole place is to pick up what we think was the decoration they had in those days. Wondered whether we could go downstairs and have a look at some more of the decoration.
It's all very beautiful. Yeah.
And it drives on teeth behind the flywheel.
Oh,
hello, Peter. Fred, can I introduce
Fred Basil Jett's young
Sir Joseph's great-great-grandson.
Great-great-grandfather, yes.
Oh, yeah.
3 generations away.
Yeah.
That's right.
So can I leave you to
Yeah,
talk?
sure, thanks.
Oh, see you later, John.
Yeah, Fred, I want to know first, is this the smallest, biggest, middle size? How's it compared to other engines you've seen?
I think I've seen a beam engine quite as big as this one, because the weight of the beam up there alone is 49 tonnes, or nearly 50 tonnes. And I think all the others I asked about were only like 30 odd tonne, you know, which is...
it's one up for Con Ness there. I'm very pleased with that.
Yeah.
Now, how much good London excrement do you think this used to lift every minute when it was really working in the 19th century?
A few hundred tonnes, I bet, yeah.
The whole system did, and this one on its own would do 120 tonnes of effluent a minute.
Yeah, or there's another words, isn't there? Can't say that on
Family
the
show, family show.
Yeah.
But what a task, eh?
Yeah.
Cleaning up London of cholera, typhoid. I think I can be proud of that.
Yeah, well, I should be, considering he was your great-granddad. To me, you never cease to wonder how they had such forethought to make everything big enough. I'll keep going right up till 100 yards. You know, I mean, now we make things and they're only designed to last 20 years, aren't they?
The thing I marvel at is what it takes people to volunteer to restore a bit of heritage like this that they really love.
Yeah.
What is it that makes people do that? Come on, you go around and
well,
you see
I'd like to have been here on the first day, you know, when after all that grafting and scraping and shifting inches of thick grease and everything, the thing actually revolves. It's an unbelievable feeling.
I mean, it's because of doing stuff like that, all the different engines you've helped, the voluntary stuff you've done. Is it why you've got your visit to the palace?
Oh, yeah, well, I think it's something to do with that, yeah,
I
must
think
be,
it is.
Really. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, a bit of a surprise, I'll tell you, when I got the letter from Buckingham Palace, summoning me to meet the Queen.
Did the letter summoning you to the palace, did it give you the reason why?
Yeah, services to heritage and TV work or something.
I'll vote for that. Put it there, mate.
All right.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed it, believe me. After leaving the magnificent pumping engines of Mr. Basil Jets, we're going to the centre of London to have a look round at all the sites and go over a few bridges and cause general havoc with the traffic. Oh, but all right, you're getting into that lane at least, you know.
And even now, there are still some problems with the engine.
Wait a minute, wants a clunk.
Oh, let me get an hammer. Hammer.
Have to mend this when we get back to base, you know. That's it. Oh, the engine's going very well, but the one or two small faults like this plug, every time you go over a bump it goes further down and we can't turn it on.
I don't know how much water we've got in it.
Yeah, it's above the hole. That's all right now. The tired steeple jack, that lad. Mechanical engineer.
But driving a traction engine round the centre of London is hot, thirsty work, and there are too many nice pubs along the route to drive past them all without sampling some London beer.
Well, we're going to have a swift half, you know. Yeah, all right. Oh, sorry.
Take me 1 hour here, and I'll stop here.
The other thing is, I've no money.
Jack, where was that 20
Eh?
quid Mum gave us?
No, that's train
I'll see if
ticket.
there's any in the van.
Brilliant. Right, come
Money
on.
like this, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, we got 10, eh?
Yeah, that's a £10 note. Come on. Yeah, you keep guard, and if anybody comes, we've stopped for...
I'll walk about with the oil can and try and look intelligent.
Are you nervous?
Why should I be nervous?
What, the Queen, remember? The little medal.
One for my gong, my gold cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what about this trip round London today? What did you see that was good?
I think we smoked Tony Blair out of Big Ben.
No, we didn't.
We gassed him.
We've got some super coal radioactive, no smoke. Yeah. What do you think, Jack? About the buildings we've passed and all that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
And Fred's got a very special parking place reserved, just by the palace.
We've been given permission to park it up on the Guards Parade Ground next door to Buckingham Palace while we go and receive our award off the Queen.
which should certainly be safe here.
See, we're here at last. You better go and get some clean togs on. I'll have a look at the engine.
Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose I'd better get changed. I can't really go and see the Queen like this. So I'll go and get me penguin suit on.
I'm really glad for him. You know, it's overdue. He really deserves it.
I'm ready now to go and see the Queen. Yeah, it's being looked after really good, yeah. No chance of it getting vandalised.
We left it being guarded by some soldiers.
Are we in the right place? Right.
Brilliant.
I never ever thought I'd ever be coming here like this.
We're going to get some ladders up for you, so back down the other side.
Yeah, well, there's still plenty of room for steeplejacks in London, you know. Where I live, there's nothing standing up no more.
I wonder if you want some repairs done on a purple.
Yeah.
You enjoy your day.
Take care. Have a nice day.
Who's next?
Yeah, the braces I've got on, gentlemen, at present. The back connection is the buttonhole in the back pocket, and the front are the two tightening up pieces. Well, there's no belt lugs on these pants.
Yeah, well deserved. But I'm not so sure when he comes back whether I'll have to doff me hat, bow or curtsy.
You know, I've been to Buckingham Palace before, but only ever stood outside and looked through them forbidding railings. I never thought that I would end up in the middle of it all. And it's quite as splendid inside as it is outside, isn't it? We'll nick a couple of these gas lamps for back at base. You know. Mr. Suggs, London, you know.
Are you going to go and get your ladders?
That flagpole is 3 ladders high. I'll tell you that, yeah. I wonder where the Queen's apartments are.
What did the Queen say?
He said, you don't still climb up chimneys, do you? And I thought, bugger, no way. That was all I got a chance to ask her, really. I said, no, it's a young man's business or something like that, you know. And then it was the handshake and, you know, bugger off at somebody else's next one, like.
Keep your finger underneath it so we can see it like that. Mm-hmm. Looking straight towards us.
Fred.
And here I am, stood in the middle of Buckingham Palace with the medal.
Just hold it up a bit. That's lovely.
So what was it like meeting the Queen today?
Well, I don't know. It's a bit unusual, really. I never ever envisaged I would ever end up in Buckingham Palace getting an MBE, you know, a bit of a shock, really.
Nowadays, do you think of yourself as Fred Dibnah steeplejack or Fred Dibnah broadcaster?
Well,
what's your first love?
Neither, really. I'm a backstreet mechanic. Aberdeen University gave me an honorary degree in backstreet mechanicking. And now Birmingham University have given me a degree in backstreet mechanicking. So it'll do for me, that.
And now you've been honoured by the Queen.
Oh, yeah, I've got an MBA as well, yeah.
So congratulations. Nice to see you.
Famous tennis player.
Yeah, that's right. How are you?
Yeah.
Get a little bit of these in.
Many years ago, when I was at school, you were the first person I ever photographed.
Thank you very much.
Take that to the chemist, you'll get the pills first thing in the morning.
What did you feel when you were told you were going to get this, when the news came through?
Surprised, to say the least.
Does it bother you at all that it's got this empire word in it?
No, I think the Queen and the Empire is what made Great Britain great. And I'm a real royalist, mate, I'll tell you. I mean, everything like this place, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's an iron founder's dream, all of this.
And it's that love of the craftsmanship and the building and engineering skills of the past, and his passion for telling us about it, that made Fred so special as a broadcaster. But looking at these things for television wasn't without its drawbacks.
The great drawback with television presenting is you don't get enough time to actually study the objects. I mean, they keep coming finding me because I've wandered away looking at things of great interest to me, where I could have spent days, not hours. Like the lantern on Ely Cathedral, quite a magnificent piece of woodwork to me. That's why we created that model that we did, that were my version of how them men got it all up there in the Middle Ages. And then, of course, there's the more modern wonders of the world, like the Forth Rail Bridge, and even the more modern ones, you know, the suspension bridges made of wire, which are quite fantastic things. The most exciting one was the one over at M62. I've never ever seen anything go over that bridge, but when you're up there, you don't even know where you are. All of a sudden, you just come to these two handrails and whoop, 200 foot down. Of all the people that I've met, they're like the lads who really do it for a living proper, like the steam hammer men in Sheffield. They were like, no talking, like a team, perfectly rehearsed in every move. That to me were brilliant. I just like that style of workman, like boilers and riveting and all of that sort of thing.
And for Fred, it's this backstreet mechanicking, as he calls it, and all that he's taught himself in this field that is his greatest achievement. He believes that more than anything else, it's what he's done to preserve these skills that's earned him his engineering doctorate and his MBE.
Yeah, I don't know whether I can word it whilst, you know, driving the engine or not. I don't know, you know, maybe.
That's it. A lifetime's ambition fulfilled. Now it's time to celebrate. And what a way to see the sights.
Do you see the big wheel?
The London Eye, that's called. Yeah, all the ridge tiles on the houses of Parliament are all cast iron. There's lots of beautiful buildings in London, isn't there? What about Big Ben then, eh?
Good.
We've been up there, you know, right amongst it all, where the bell is. Where are we going now? We'll go home and see what's what in the back garden, I think. Well, I've done it. It's finished.